Everything is sexist, everything is racist, everything is homophobic, and you have to point it all out.
Meow, that's right.
All right, once again, it is Wednesday evening in Tooney Town, and that can only mean one thing. It is time for Tooney Talk TV, folks. I am so sorry. We had to restart this stream twice because I am an idiot. But before we get to that, let me get two members of our esteemed panel. Not everyone's here yet, but we are moving along. Folks, first of all, coming to us, our good friend and new aspiring YouTuber, AEW Disciplinary Committee, a.k.a. Dis from Maxed Out Media. Hello, Dis. Thank you for bearing with me.
No problem. I'm fine. So...
Yeah. And folks, on time for once, and that's only because I'm late. Our good friend, Awful Wrestling, who is muted.
Oh, man. What's going on, guys? I was just listening in.
Oh, you were just listening? You did? Why did you do that? Do you want me to back you out?
Sure, but great show so far, guys.
Oh, thanks, Awful. I'm glad you, instead of listening on YouTube, you decided to come into the broadcast. Thank you.
You know what, bro? I'll do exactly that.
No, it's okay. You could stay here, buddy. You could stay here. Don't worry. All right, all right. So here's what just happened. I was getting like an echo on everything that I was doing, and I thought it was because we're simulcasting on the two channels at the same time, and I was like, oh no, StreamYard is broken. What am I gonna do? Good Lord. And then I realized after I restarted it for just the wrestling channel, I realized why it was that I was getting that feedback. I had YouTube open. And I was hearing the stream plus me doing it. So that's why it was on a delay. So good Lord, I'm an idiot. And I just made everybody run around in circles like chickens with a head. Hopefully everyone who wanted to come to the stream is now here on the stream on one of the two channels. If you want to super chat along, folks, you got to do so through Tooney Town Wrestling, not through Tooney Town TV. So, all right. Dis, before, we are waiting on Kevin Apollo. Yes. He is late. He had to go pick up his kid. So I don't want to get into the Acolyte until he gets here. But before that, I wanted to talk a bit about your channel, your new channel. Now, last week you brought up this concept of a lost media moment. Yes. What exactly was that project that you were tracking?
Okay, this is going back 20 years.
20 years.
20 years. It was 2004. We all went on Ain't It Cool News back then. That was the news web. Either that or Coming Attractions were kind of the two big news sites for movie news, and they had something about a movie called Automatons. Or what's the other? Automatons. You can pronounce it either way, I found, but yes, I've always referred to it as Automatons. Anyway, it was a claymation movie starring John Cleese as Adolf Hitler, Sylvester Stallone as Mussolini. You had Billy Bob Thornton, Jack Black, John C. Reilly, William H. Macy, and I always forget his name. Saturday Night Live guy. Anyway, it's in the short. It's in the short.
Okay. Hold on. Before you continue on, we are going to welcome our good friend Kevin Apollo.
Oh, he's here,
joining us here as well. Can you hear us, Kev? Kev.
He has an acolyte with him.
He does have an acolyte. Kevin Apollo, can you hear us? Apparently, Kevin Apollo cannot hear us.
Interesting. Should I keep going while he fixes that? Or
yeah, I'll just drop something in the private chat.
Okay. So anyway, yeah. The whole idea was that John Cleese and Sylvester Stallone played Mussolini and Hitler, and Toho was the guy I can't think of off the top of my head. And they cryogenically froze themselves at the end of World War II. So instead of dying, Hitler had actually cryogenically froze himself. At the same time, there were two automatons who were built and programmed specifically to kill them. And they had gone into a submarine because they detected they were down there, So they went into a submarine underwater, and as soon as they became cryogen, and basically they got stuck there because all they were programmed to do was kill these three people, and these three people are now cryogenically frozen at the bottom of the ocean. So when the three unfreeze themselves in modern times, they decide that they want to get the public on their side, and to do so, they will do a stage play of "You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown" with Adolf Hitler playing Charlie Brown.
So
and
random.
Toho playing Snoopy, and I don't know who Mussolini played.
I mean, that's of course what he was. Mussolini's got to be Linus, right?
You'd think. Or Lucy maybe with a wig. That'd be funny.
Oh man.
So
problematic.
So, but at the same time, when this happens, the automatons also figure out that they're back.
Hold on, wait.
Okay,
one sec. We're trying Apollo again. Kevin, can you hear us?
All right, that's better.
That's better.
All right, I can hear you guys. I was talking. I don't know what was going on.
Okay, yeah, no, I see you got your acolyte with you.
Yes, little Sir Duke is here. Sir Duke.
Yes. His full name, folks, is Hadouken. it's an ethnic name. Hey, Mr. Duke. All right, Dis, continue on. Dis is telling us about this insane lost media.
So, and it was written by the directors and writers of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure, and also the writer of Men in Black was a part.
Okay,
because Ed Solomon wrote Men in Black. So that's the pedigree's there. It's a crazy story, absolutely insane. And they had pictures, and this movie was being actively made in 2004. So I went on, I told all my friends about it. I went to work. I told everybody about it. It was the big topic of conversation amongst me and my, crew, I guess, at the time. And then nothing ever happened with it. It just.
Are you talking about automatons?
Automatons. Yes. Yeah.
Oh my God. What you have? Wait, hold on. You have this?
What?
He doesn't have it. He did a whole video about it being lost media.
Oh, okay. That's like
on his new channel.
That's incredible.
So,
go ahead. Alone is worth subscribing to your channel.
Well, thank you.
You want us to take a look at a little preview of the short that you posted?
Sure. Get to the screenshots at least, because I don't have those handy. So,
okay, yes. So this will let me pull that up for you or for everybody. All right, Lost Media Shorts. All right, this is on Dis's new channel, Maxed Out Media at Disciplinary Committee on YouTube, and here we go.
Automatons. Unfinished claymation movie from 2004. Written and directed by Chris Matheson and Ed Solomon of Bill and Ted fame. Starred John Cleese as Hitler, Sylvester Stallone as Mussolini, John C. Reilly, and Fred Armisen rounding out the. The plot is where it gets interesting. Hitler and Mussolini froze themselves during World War II, causing two automatons that were programmed to kill them to be trapped inside of a submarine. They unfreeze themselves in modern times. All right, you can pause it there. And decide that.
Okay.
Okay.
Good Lord.
So,
it's so cool.
So I'll you can close. I mean, they saw him. So,
okay.
So I'll go forward with the story because. So for years, this became an inside thing with me and my friends. We always would ask about it, try to figure out where it's going, and nothing ever came of it. And then I decided on a whim, me and my brother were talking about it, and he said, "Why don't you reach out to Ed Solomon?" I had tried to get this on Lost Media Wiki. I had tried to get this covered by El Supersonic Q, by Blame It on Jorge, by Justin Wang. None of these, no one paid attention. I posted it on Reddit. I posted it everywhere I could. No one cared at all about it.
Okay.
So I reached out to Ed Solomon, and Ed Solomon actually answered me. And he said, "Oh, automatons. I can't believe someone asked about that. Yeah. Just about 2 years ago, Adult Swim asked us about it. And they apparently, somebody at Adult Swim had done the same thing that we had, where it just became this legend among their friend group. And they actually reached out to do a series. And Ed Solomon said that either it was partially they didn't really want it as a company, and then partially Ed Solomon said that he couldn't figure out how he could make it work in this day and age.
Right.
But he did say there is finished footage. I found a reel on somebody's animation page, like a claymation guy, but that disappeared years ago. So there is footage. There's a few scenes that are made, and it's just never come out, and no one ever talked about it. So I thought I'll just put something out there, and hopefully somebody will talk about it, because it's something I think we can all agree deserves to be discussed.
Yeah, of course, absolutely. What?
So
Kevin, how did you find out about this?
When I worked in KB Toy Store a jillion years ago, I had the assistant manager there. Andy was a big film guy, but he was like this skinny redheaded hippie who just loved film, loved comedy, and he talked about it. He just knew about it, and I just like, and I am just like shocked. I thought I was like one of the only people on Earth who even knew this was possibly even a thing, to the point that I'm like, was this real or did I make this up? So the second I get into the room, you're talking about frozen Hitler, Mussolini, and robot bodies. I'm like, oh my God.
that is awesome, because that's exactly what I did. I was Andy. I worked at Target at the time, and I went to Target and I told everybody about it. And
I can't believe that this was a thing that got made, put into production. Like,
yeah,
it sounds like something that you would just like.
It sounds like a movie that we would have made up at 11 o'clock at night over a beer while we were bored on, back in 2000. Like, that's what it sounded like to me.
Yes.
Right. It sounds like a fever dream.
And it could never be made after 2007.
No. Yeah.
No.
Well,
God, no.
You know what's funny is that's actually how Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson came up with Bill and Ted. Exactly how we're talking about is they were just sitting around one day and they're like, wouldn't it be funny if there were two guys who found a phone booth that went back in time and they had to get a bunch of historical figures to do a history report in school? Wouldn't that be hilarious? And that's where Bill and Ted
great.
Yeah,
so great. That was always my favorite one. I've always heard the legend that like Eastman and Laird created the Ninja Turtles by like just sitting around high, like after smoking pot and just being like, turtles who have pizza.
You want to hear
It was beer.
It was beer. They were drunk. Okay.
Yeah, it was
pizza.
Beer drinking turtles. They wanted to mock how ridiculously violent comics had become. So if you read the original run, just read it concurrent to Miller's Daredevil. They fit together perfectly.
Yeah, because like the ooze that like blinds Matt Murdock is the ooze, right?
Yeah, it makes the turtles. The foot are adjacent to the hand.
That's why they're called the foot. That makes sense.
They were like everything's super ridiculous. Where can we go with it? And they're like, well, what if we had beer drinking turtles who know how to fight karate, who know how to karate fight, and then here we are.
Ours, I think a lot of people have that one thing that you're always like, I'm going to make that. I'm going to do that someday. And when I used to hang out with my friends and just, make stuff up, our big one was Renaissance dudes. this came out. This was right around the time of with that dumb movie where like Seth Green had to wear Seth Green and Harlan Williams wore dresses.
I remember that movie.
Yeah, Sorority Boys. That wasn't Sorority Boys. That was it. And we thought that we always made fun of that, so we came up with Renaissance Dudes. And Renaissance Dudes was it was us three, and we traveled through time, and we found out that we traveled through time because our couch accidentally was a time machine that we found out was fueled by women's panties. So we had to go through.
What?
We had to travel through time and do panty raids, and that was how.
Oh my God. You know, my thing was my I'm gonna make this someday thing was someday I'm gonna make a Triple H puppet and do a series. So and thank you, by the way, to everyone who checked out the Headlock headlines today. That video is getting great traction over on Tooney Town Wrestling. I'm super thrilled with how like the Pokemon thing came out, and happy with how the whole thing. Have we stalled enough, by the way, because we just really don't want to talk about the Acolyte?
I thought you were being nice and you were interested in my project, but if we were
I am
stalling,
interested in your project. No, I am interested in your project. I'm extremely.
I'm kidding.
I think everybody should go right now and subscribe to this. Lost Media, more coming. We'll be working in tandem a lot. So take a look at it.
I was joking, but yes.
We were talking about Andy. I have to tell an Andy story that I loved real quick. If it keeps us from talking about the Acolyte, go ahead. No, we're talking about that awful show because I had to go back and watch most of the first and second episode to make sure that what I was seeing was contradictory to everything that we saw in the first and second episode.
Uh-huh.
We're talking about this hunk of shit. The Andy, big film guy, used to go to all these, used to go to every kind of con that was available. And I think he said he was at like a DC Comic Con. And he has like a backstage pass for whatever reason. So he's trying to get to an elevator and he sees Adam West. And he motions for Adam West to hold the elevator. They lock eyes. And Adam West very clearly hits the button to make the elevator close faster as Andy is racing to try to get to it. And just before it closes, he can see him like through the crack of the elevator. He goes, "Fuck you. The only thing you've ever done was the happy hooker goes to Washington. Your Batman sucked."
Oh my God.
He's like, and since then, I've done nothing but wish death upon Adam West.
Oh, a couple of years ago, did you call him and be like, your wish came true?
If I still had a way to contact him, I 100% would have.
Wishing death upon Adam West because he made an elevator door close in your face and you had to wait an extra 3 minutes to go upstairs has got to be like next level like hatred.
It was just the two of them, so it's like he just like, oh, I don't want to be stuck in an elevator with this nerd.
Okay, I don't believe Adam West in the least bit, especially if the guy looks like your description of him, like it's just this skinny redheaded hippie. Close the door.
Skinny redhead. He looked like if you took the real Ghostbusters Egon Spangler and made him a ginger with a red mustache. That's Andy.
Yeah, no. Adam West is crawling up the elevator shaft to get it. He's doing the Batman climb up the side of the elevator shaft while Don Rickles pops in through the door to have some one-liner. I've always loved your theory about the original Adam West Batman.
Oh, that Bruce Wayne was just a mega rich psychopath. And
yes.
Everybody's been being paid by Alfred to feed his delusion.
His superhero fantasy, which is why it's always celebrities popping out the windows.
Yeah. This also works for Zach Morris.
That is also true. Whenever this guy says time out, you all freeze.
Everybody freeze.
Don't you move. Even the principal's going to freeze. Oh, look, yeah, he really doesn't like Saved by the Bell, huh?
Or the alien. Maybe I'm scared. I'm scared.
Good Lord, we're watching fatherhood in action here.
Yeah, I could just watch this. This is fine.
Seriously. All right. The Acolyte. It's time. We've stalled enough. You know what? A few super chats. John JID 999 put up 2 super chats before I had to restart the stream. He said, Terrible writing up until the last 5 minutes of the show when the girl just said out of nowhere, "I'll kill you." It was hilarious. And the one girl's a skilled lock picker. Yeah, all of a sudden just has this power to pick locks. We'll get to that. He says, my second one is I have a controversial opinion. Batman versus Superman Dawn of Justice is good. That is a controversial opinion because that movie is not good.
The first and second, no, the first act and the third act are good. The second act,
it's everything in the middle.
It's the entire middle of the movie. We're like, what the hell happened?
That's all of Zack Snyder's movies. Right?
And then you see the extended cut. You're like, who thought what psychopath thought all this is going to fit into one movie? And then two, why did they even say to make it this way?
Mm-hmm.
There's 4 billion ways to make a Batman versus Superman movie, and this is the way you want about it?
I know. There were a million ways to make a Batman versus Superman movie. This was the worst possible scenario. Oh my goodness. And then Denisha Lane checking in says, Marvin, I just love the headlines. So funny. Thank you so much, Denisha. I'm glad you liked it. All right, guys, we've stalled enough. The Acolyte. It's time. All right. Well, hold on. We're being joined now by a friend from that Park Place. Nolan Thunder, welcome to the show.
Did someone say a hooker in Washington?
No, we said the Acolyte.
Oh, I thought we were here to stall the Acolyte and pretend it never happened.
I mean, that would be amazing if we could do that, but unfortunately we cannot. All right, so thankfully we only have one episode to get through this week. My God, what a putrid slog this was. Just completely god-awful on every level. There was not one redeeming factor in this entire thing. Like I was on the stream last night on the Pro Show with WW Pro and Jonas and all those guys, and we were talking at length about just how awful it is, how it breaks the canon and lore of Star Wars, how they have fundamentally changed what the Force is. All right, so first of all, I would like to wish to everybody here and everybody watching on the stream, may the thread be with you.
Oh, God.
Because Leslie Headland...
Hey, Marvin.
Yes, Nolan.
Go die in a fire. No, I'm kidding.
Mysteriously in a fire that doesn't touch you. We have now fundamentally changed what the Force is. We now have a coven of lesbian witches who have redefined the Force and painted the Jedi as evil colonizer appropriators.
They're also the world's greatest group of Masons ever because they just landed on the planet, but they have a 4,000 person capable of storing fortress that they apparently built with the power of their lesbian wills.
Yes. By the way, Son Goten 76001, if you super chatted in the original stream, please just let me know what it said and I'll read it aloud here. I'm sorry about that. That was my stupid technical problems. So the Force is not a force. It is a thread that you can pull on. And there are some people that think you can wield this thing that is a force, but no, you can't. They're wrong. They're not using it correctly. Only we are, because the galaxy doesn't like women like us, so we have to go into hiding. It was pure garbage. They reformed the Jedi as like basically baby snatchers, and like they were kind of almost like I felt like I was watching the last 10 minutes of Anne Frank when the Jedi showed up.
Yeah, I was thinking Schindler's List while I was watching it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like, oh, hide the kids. I was like, no, what the heck? And the way the Jedi talk to those girls like they're child protective services. Did you notice that? Like,
yeah, and that was definitely intentional on their part from their own biases. Am I the only one that felt kind of uncomfortable watching this? Like,
no,
it's almost like you're seeing two cults going at it with each other to where no side here is right. But you see the children are involved with this, and it just makes you feel very... It's not like the good kind of, like a fairy tale, to where it's like, man, these kids got to get out of this bad situation. Because it's clear in this series that Leslie has some biases of what are in her favor, as opposed to an intentional writer who would be like, yeah, both these sanctions are kind of bat crap crazy. But I just feel like this is probably the most distracting series I have ever seen in my life, because I'm really not one of those, like, it's gotten, politics have gotten so obvious in our media these days to where it's unavoidable and we have to talk about it. But I'm really not one who just be like, I have to make a big conspiracy about every piece of entertainment I see. But this is the first time I've ever watched a piece of media where I legit feel like I'm watching propaganda. Like, I feel uncomfortable watching this show. And something just feels wrong. And it's not really something I can even as much physically notice. It's just something just almost spiritually for I feel like this just feels wrong.
You are watching Star Wars be remade into the image of just a terrible person, of Leslie Headland. She's one of those writers who has no actual writing talent. So all she can do is write herself. Go ahead, Kevin.
What has she actually done other than be Harvey Weinstein's assistant?
Nothing.
You know,
I think she knows where some of the bodies are buried, because Harvey Weinstein bought her first script, and then I don't know if it ever got made, but then after that she just started getting work with like Netflix and with Russian Doll and all that other stuff.
I actually worked on one of my favorite short-lived series, which was Terriers. So when you guys were talking about this beforehand, and I went and looked at our IMDb, and like one of the only other things was Terriers, I was like, oh, this might not be so bad. She was on and then I looked and it said staff writer, and you know what that means. If it's a staff writer, they don't.
She said, what if he goes through the door?
Yeah, exactly.
But then she grifted off of Harvey. She got herself attached to Kathleen, and now she's a showrunner. And she's ripping lore apart. And again, this is all. Listen. If she went through some super traumatic thing where there was a divorce and she had to endure this, I feel terrible for her. But all she did was she turned the Jedi into space CPS, who were intent on taking these homeschool children away from their crystal-loving lesbian moms. You
know what? And at the end of the day, the Jedi don't take children. We just established that in the Ahsoka backstory on Tales of the Jedi. Just a year ago, Filoni established this.
They established it in the episode. So that's why I'm like, that's why I can see like none of this makes sense. There's a line, and then the line is immediately followed with a contradictory line. And it's like, and then the reactions, like nothing about this episode makes any effing sense.
Am I the only one who thought that she deserved to lose her kids?
She was manipulative. When she was like, I understand your wishes. We'll take them into consideration when deciding what's going to happen to you.
Yeah,
like
also,
she was not good. Like that was like, I know that Leslie was trying to paint the witches as like the ultimate good in the universe, but they're not.
Yeah,
and John JID 999 deranged monks was how they described the Jedis. Yeah, that's exactly how they described the Jedi.
So how, like, even take away or like her being manipulative or her maybe not being a good person, she's not a good mother. Those girls, by the way, ran out into the middle of the field where there might be Jedis trying to take them away, and when she came back, she gave them treats. So
ice cream.
Spice cream. Yes. Which, by the way, in Star Wars, spice is a narcotic.
Yeah,
like well documented narcotic that like Jabba the Hutt sells and Han Solo smuggled for him.
If this was better written, they totally should have integrated this into the plot. Like it's like it starts out like super cool, like these. You see the perspective instead of if you're rewriting this series, instead of having this as the third episode, you make this the first episode, and you rewrite it in a way. Wait, let me finish. We're rewriting a bit. So you take it to where you see these two twins and they're living in like a paradise. Like everything just seems to be perfect for them. And one of them is clearly still drinking the Kool-Aid and stuff. But the other girl notices that things just aren't quite right around here. And you start noticing the little things as the audience. And I think a good opportunity of that would have been with the spice cream, which I think is one of the dumbest names ever in Star Wars. But like maybe if it actually was like a narcotic, to where it's like, wait, why are they giving kids these, illegal substances and such? And you just slowly start reading to where one of the kids is aware what happens. And then she has motivation to leave for the Jedi Order because, like, Anakin had a reason, aside from being the Chosen Land. He wanted to get out of slavery. These girls you don't see as much, and you don't understand, was this girl reading about the Jedi? What was her motive behind this? And if you had like this creepy cult-like environment and she's trying to get the heck out of there, that would have been a way better way to start the anticipation of what's going to happen to this girl in the series and such in her future, instead of one of the most poorly written backstories I think I've ever seen in Star Wars media.
No, so you know what? You know how you talked earlier about how you felt uneasy watching it?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I think I cracked that. This feels like it is Sith propaganda against the Jedi. It feels like you're watching a propaganda film.
Yes. Yes, I think that is actually an excellent analogy there. A good point. I like that.
Yeah, that's what it doesn't feel like you're watching a balanced story. It feels like you're watching something made by an organization to specifically make you dislike and not trust another organization.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be that terrible because even in the prequels, they were starting to show that even though Palpatine was clearly the crazy psycho, pulling the strings of everything, they were trying to show, that the Jedi weren't exactly, the White Knights entirely. They were kind of overstepping some boundaries. They've gone from basically Guardians of Peace to basically super soldiers, trying to keep an order in place, and that's part of the reason why Anakin turned. But at the same time, though, it's clear Lucas had a bias on what was good and evil in the world, and to have such a 180 on the Jedi, unless you really want to count Jake Skywalker and the Rise of Skywalker of how the Jedi were portrayed. But if we're talking at least in the prequel era, this even here is just such a... It's like you started playing a new Mario game and all of a sudden they're trying to make Mario the bad guy and Bowser the good guy and play it straight. It just feels like a slap to the face, and you're like, you don't feel like something's wrong in what you're viewing.
Yeah, Nolan, I think what in the Last Jedi, the Jedi was still held up as this paragon of good, this virtuous thing. The Jedi, the deconstruction there was Luke Skywalker. That was just, oh no, this guy sucks.
Well, even if you go back to the prequels, right, when you're seeing what George is saying with the Jedi, I think it's in episode 2 when they're sitting with Obi-Wan and Mace, they're complaining that the Jedi are losing their way. A lot of the newer ones are arrogant. They're unfocused. They have roles that they don't want to have, and that was tying into what we were originally being taught in the old EU, that the way they went about training the Jedi was wrong. That it was really more the Qui-Gon approach that was the better way. This, on the other hand, is we are taking everything about the Jedi, and we're telling you that this is all wrong. And they're doing it lazily by saying, but this is from the perspective of this particular group of witches. And listen, when you get into the meat of the episode, you're watching, well, what did the Jedi actually do that was wrong here? Because right now we've got which one? And I'm still baffled as to why they chose to do a Samantha Sabrina instead of a Tia Tamara and actually hire some twins. But the one twin is a psychopathic murderer. So there's nothing, right out the box, there's nothing redeeming about this child. She is a murderer.
100%.
Who decides to burn the stone fortress down to the ground.
She's not.
Can I also complain for a second? I'm sorry. Can I complain in the sense of, because, okay, before I started watching The Acolyte, I knew the backstory of Leslie Headland, but I really didn't want to fall in the trap of, I'm going to make my opinion on this woman and then do the research. I want to do the research because maybe, okay, she was in a spot, maybe it was all just that, trope of like in a movie, the right character in a bad situation. Maybe this girl is in a spot, I think, I have a lot of doubts about that, especially now. But I'm like, okay, I was looking up interviews about her, kind of trying to understand her psyche, what's her opinions. She believes she either used to be or is a narcissist. She's seen the Red Letter Media reviews, so she's studied up a little bit on Star Wars, maybe more in the snobby sense, but please don't take that the wrong way. But I was looking into this woman. But I will say, after seeing this, I believe the reason that she has struggled to get some of her films made is because I don't think her scripts and ideas were that good. Seeing how this last, 5 minutes this episode were shot, this whole thing with like the twins fighting and the fire breaking out, it was confusing, hard to follow, and rather poorly executed, paced, choreographed. Like, I legitimately, and I don't mean this in offense, but I do not think Leslie Headland is a good director.
Oh no.
Her stories are
She's not a
hard
good
to
director.
follow.
She's not a good writer. She's not a good anything.
No.
She's not a good person.
Yeah, the only thing I like about this is it's pretty clear that it's her vision, which I like, because I like about the Star Wars prequels. Anything that's wrong, you can pretty much blame on Lucas, because he had his hands in most things here. He was a very good creator in that sense. When it comes to the Star Wars sequels, a lot of it has Kathleen Kennedy's meddling, but I feel like Leslie did get the reins, or the wheel of the franchise, for better or worse, and I think she took that Corvette and she drove it off a bridge, because that was just bad on almost any sense. Some people even say they like the soundtrack. I wasn't even thinking the soundtrack.
No, Jonas was saying last night that the soundtrack was good, and I was like, I don't know. Nothing about this music like struck me, and it had the worst music in the history of Star Wars with
Oh,
Power of One.
oh my gosh!
Oh yeah.
The Power
When I
of
was on
Two.
Lorena's stream
The
last
Power of
night,
Many.
when I was in the audience of Lorena's stream last night, sorry, Apollo, I'll let you go. But when I was on the stream last night, I typed out like they've gone full on Disney, and I don't mean that in how we usually mean, to where it's like, okay, they've gone full Disney, so it's all Kathleen Kennedy. No, I mean they've done the stereotypes that people were afraid when they bought Marvel, they bought Lucasfilm. They're singing. We're just one cartoon sidekick away now from being about every trope that Disney has in their original movies. Like, this is rock bottom, and I cannot. This makes Last Jedi look like a cinematic masterpiece, because I can at least say I know what Rian Johnson was going for. Was it misguided? Yes, but I will say, if you saw Last Jedi and had never seen a Star Wars movie, you have a competent movie. If the writing is fine, it's the problems with it or how much it affects the lore. Is it a perfect movie? No, not by any means. But it is a movie. It has a start, a finish. The pacing's fine. The script has some deep ideas. In my opinion, I think The Last Jedi, not as a Star Wars movie, is still a good movie. This is not even good entertainment. I wouldn't give this to a grandma, a kid.
Yeah, I would go as far as to say The Last Jedi is probably the best made Star Wars movie in terms of cinematography, in terms of the way it's shot, and it would be a good movie if it were about anything other than Star Wars. Like if it was like a Rebel Moon type situation.
You know how much I beg to see Rian Johnson do something not Star Wars but like that again? If he had, like you said, if he did Rebel Moon instead of Zack Snyder, that might have actually been a really good thing. Because at the time when Last Jedi came out, I really stupidly at the time enjoyed it, and it really changed over time. In retrospective, it wasn't like some other movies like this one where it's like, I can't see this appealing to anybody outside of Leslie Headland or people that just like it because of what the actors have said as what it is, as opposed to looking deeper if this thing is actually good. But take the mic.
My
hold on, Kevin. You had something to say when I mentioned the Power of One, Power of Two.
It's again. This is. It comes down to we talked about it a little bit last week when they had to do when the twins did that contrived rhyming thing. Blah blah blah, and it's just that it's that unclever people trying to tell you that they're clever with how they write something. Like we're like. You go back and you watch anything that has to do with the Night Sisters, and there's especially what the one where Mace is fighting Mother Townsend when she disappears. Like that's a creepy, spooky episode. Like they're doing some weird stuff. And I'm like, you mean to tell me you couldn't take 5 minutes to research some weird occult chanting thing that could have gotten the same thing across, Instead, we want for like the one said, lowest common denominator, like a Disney Channel movie, Disney Channel movie writing. The where it's like it's just to call it rudimentary would be offensive to someone sitting in their room right now trying to pen a fanfic. I mean, it's just.
I forget who said it last night. I think it was on the stream that I was on with Pro. Somebody said, I would call it a fanfic, but I don't think she's a fan. It's like, it's basically just she tried to take Star Wars, make it hers, and there was malice behind the deconstruction of the Force and the Jedi.
And that's good. That's my second point. This is someone who clearly does not understand Star Wars, does not want to understand Star Wars, and probably doesn't even actually like Star Wars. This is breaking Star Wars for the sake of breaking it. This is I'm going out of my way to take this away from every single one of you who's sitting on YouTube, who's sitting on Twitter, who's ranting on Facebook, because you like this. I took your thing, I made it mine, and there's nothing you can do about it. So it's like yeah, fine. Like again, I go back to Last Jedi, right? Yes, when they broke Luke, they broke the fandom. And I can understand why there were people who liked it and why there were people who absolutely detested it. I remember when I was sitting in the theater watching it, I got up and I actually didn't know how I felt. I just knew I never wanted to see this movie again. Yeah. I never needed to watch it ever again. I don't even think I even wanted to talk about it. And then, like, it took me a couple days, and I'm like, no, I hate this because this isn't what Luke was ever supposed to be. Luke was closer to being Space Gandhi than anything else. Like, Luke won his dark side. Luke had been tested thoroughly in every way imaginable. Luke wins the fight because he chose not to fight. So now
there's always been this regime at Lucasfilm has always had a big problem with Luke Skywalker. You saw remember that one picture that they put out from like inside the Lucasfilm studio, and you could see in the background there's a picture of Luke Skywalker with a red X through his face.
Yep. It's Luke, as annoying as it is to say, but you have a group of people in there who, for whatever reason, have a major mad on for straight white males for whatever the reason.
And we're seeing that now because we're seeing them go now after Anakin because this episode undid Anakin.
But again, it's all to I'm breaking it because I can. You like this, I don't. I got the keys. I got the keys to your 57 Chevy that your grandfather promised you, and because I got it, now I'm gonna crash into the first fucking wall I see. I'm gonna make sure it's smoldering ash, and then before the tow truck comes, I'm gonna take a big poop on it, just so that you understand that I could destroy it.
It's like you have a sculpture that's made out of clay, and it's still bendable, and for that to be art, it needs to remain the way it is. You can, like, say if it's of a human, you can take, or a cat or anything, you can take hats, you can dress up the clay sculpture in different ways. But in order to shape it into your image, if you do not like this art, you must break that art. You need to mold it into there. And I would love to see that become a terminology, because that's literally what Leslie has done, is she wants to mold Star Wars to being her own voice, how she wants to perceive the world and movies and such. And because her own clay won't catch up, her own art won't catch on, she wants to take this as a vessel. And when you use a vessel of someone else's creation as your own creation, you're playing a very dangerous game.
I agree 100%. It is you saw now the fact that these two lesbian witches created or Mama, or who I like to call Mama Yaz, because remember she was the one at Star Wars Celebration who was like, the thing I like about my character is she's a very strong leader, and there are no strong female leaders in Star Wars. It's very patriarchal. And then people started cheering, and she went, yes, yes. And I hated her from the beginning.
Why do the people at Lucasfilm hate women so much? Because they clearly forget about every woman from the past 5 years that ran Star Wars. Do they just have short-term memory loss like Dory?
Princess Leia, Padme Amidala, Mon Mothma, Hera Syndulla, Ahsoka. These are all women who have been in positions of leadership in Star Wars. The only male that I can think of that was in like a super position of leadership was either Palpatine or Yoda.
Yeah. Well, don't forget too, Mara Jade was the queen of the EU, to the point that they found excuses to jam. The character was so popular, they gave her own video game series. The
Masters of the Terrascasi.
Oh well, they jammed their Masters of Terrascasi, and then it was she had I can't remember the name of it, but she had a
computer game,
a 3-part PC game. The and they
it wasn't Dark Forces, was it?
I got pissed because they stole the title of one of the games. I don't think through my Twitter because we were ranting about it like a couple of weeks ago. But she was a part of one of the Dark Forces games. But it's like this character drove the 90s. Like that's all people wanted to see was Mara Jade brought to the big screen. And you threw her out with the bathwater and made it so that you could never.
No, thank you for that image, though. I'm picturing like they're on like an old school porch, of like some rural thing, and just got Leslie, and she's got Leslie in the bathroom. Here you go, Mary Jane, and she's like, ah!
And it's like I don't understand. Like, I get it.
In my review of The Acolyte of the first 2 episodes, I did a whole supercut of powerful women in Star Wars. I did Jedi. I just did female Jedi, and I had Leia, Ahsoka, Luminaria, Shakti, Barriss Offee,
who's the Darth Maul chick in the EU? No, the Twi'lek. Sorry, the Twi'lek who kind of looks like Darth Maul in the EU.
I don't remember her name, but George Lucas loved her. But you had Bastila Shan, you had Kreia / Darth Treya. There was so many, and even just recently, look in the Cal Kestis games. You had Sia Junda, and she's great. She's fantastic Jedi.
But when you don't fit the narrative being presented, you have to be ignored, right? There's nothing worse than the truth. So if we can get rid of the context and let you mold the story that you want to tell, like Leia, they acknowledge Leia because they can't not acknowledge Leia, but they'll also do everything in their power to kind of throw her off to the side, say shut up and sit in the other room. Like again, you ignored the fact that Slave Leia or whatever dumb thing we call her now, the
Hut Slayer Leia.
Slayer? Is that really what they're calling her?
Yeah. No, they were calling her that back in 2015 because I remember seeing something articles like I think it was around or even before The Force Awakens came out that they were kicking out all the Slave Leia merch because that apparently wasn't good under the eyes of Disney. I remember at Kmart on clearance, they had the Black Series Slave Leia, and I was like, I don't need that or whatever. And then that thing shot for like $200, and I'm like, wow, I should.
You know who would have been the first person to say that's ridiculous and flip them off and say fuck you would be Carrie Fisher.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like it's one of those like you can be a woman can be attractive and can be physically attractive. And can embrace her sexuality and also be intelligent and be hyper competent.
Yes.
So like I'm sorry, I get it. Leslie has a big neck. She and I probably wear the same collar size shirt. That's how big her effing neck is. I'm sorry, like you get these fugly elf girls who are mad that we'll go back to Frost, right? Frost goes over and she's being pissed off because she doesn't get the same love that Olivia Munn and Blair Herter and the other one and Morgan Webb got.
Talk to him, Frost.
Like, so I will get over it. Stop punishing everybody because you aren't what is typically considered pretty. Half the time we're going to regard you a certain way because it's your personality. Your personality is actually showing through in your miserable physical appearance. And it's
sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it.
And another thing is this whole, because I see it especially a lot in my medium, with like the video game coverages and how much they don't want to have attractive women. And with these activists, and I'm just going to call them developers, literally activists. The problem also with their philosophy, it's like, we can't have those dudes, being attracted to women. You know who also likes hot chicks? Lesbians and bisexual girls. They like pretty girls too. So what's wrong with an attractive female? There's nothing wrong with an attractive female. There's nothing wrong with an attractive male. Mm-hmm. Get over it.
I was talking about this earlier. They were like, Feige over at Marvel was like, women like the MCU now, so now it's time to shift our focus to make female-centric girl boss movies, and they all bombed. You know why? Because that's not what the women who were going to see these movies wanted. They wanted to go see
Jason Momoa.
They wanted to go see this movie with their boyfriend and see Chris Hemsworth with his shirt off.
Yeah, well, shoot, it's like when you see, if you get yanked to like a chick flick, and some dudes like chick flicks and stuff like that. I like Father of the Bride. I think that's a fun movie. But like, I really don't care about gender when it comes to my media. I really find that relevant. That's why I don't like the whole thing about reinventing it for men or women or all that
modern
nonsense.
Audiences.
Yeah, modern audiences. But that's the thing too. It's like if I'm watching something that's aimed at like women or something, like certain kinds of anime or something like that, it might be aimed at girls. But hey, if you have a bunch of hotties in the front that's aimed at women because they're pretty, well, hey, the dudes are gonna enjoy that too if they're straight, because it's like, hey.
Nolan, I don't know if I made this point last week. I know I've made it on other streams before on other channels. The reason why we all love Buffy, the reason why we all love Xena, these female-led properties, is because they told universal stories, okay? They told stories about things like leadership, friendship, love, loss, fighting for what's right, battling back against evil, redemption. These are things anyone, regardless of who you are, can relate to. The stories that are being told today are not about these universal truths. They are specifically about being a specific race, being a specific gender, having a specific sexuality, and that's why people feel boxed out constantly. In trying
These
to
are
be
not
more inclusive
stories. They are exclusive stories.
Hold on. In trying to be more inclusive, we have become more exclusive.
Exactly. You hit the nail right on the head.
It's diversity by exclusivity. I miss my uncle so much. He was my favorite person on this planet. I sometimes go, I'm kind of glad he's not here, because I would break my heart for him to see what his X-Men have turned into. My uncle was a half black, half Italian gay dude growing up in New York City in the 70s. So it's like he got his piece through entertainment. Until he was comfortable with himself, and he had a fantastic group of friends. One of his friends actually named Jor-El. Whenever we would see Jor-El, I would go, Jor-El! At the top of my lungs, because how could I not want to scream at him?
Did he have a son? Did he have a son that you could call Son of Jor-El? Come back, Son of Jor-El!
It's like he was never obsessed with needing to see himself on the screen. Like, he just needed, like, he had ideals. He liked to see his ideals played out.
Because there are universal concepts that we can all get.
And it's like, and now it's like, you have
good versus evil.
Yeah, well, this is the deconstruction era, right? The main intent is to take everything that is, take all your norms, all your social norms, all the things that bind and unite us, right? And it's with a malicious intent, go in there and tell you why this is bad and this is wrong, and no, you can't have that opinion. You need to be a victim. And oh well, you're what is it? Well, you're white adjacent, so you can't be that much of a victim. Except for this on this particular month, you can be a victim here, but that's only because it's convenient for you to be a victim right now. And oh well, you can kind of come to the party, but you can't come all the way in because you may be from an island that may have had a slave for entirely too long. And it's like, listen, throughout the whole of human history, the one thing that unites us all as people is that every single person on this planet comes from a people who did something really shitty. We were terrible.
Yes!
Terrible. If you were not enslaving, you were a slave. If you were a slave, you were probably raping and pillaging. If you weren't raping and pillaging, you were devising weapons of war to get money. It's like, we are actually lucky we still exist. So it's like, at the end of the day, get over it. It's like,
and we didn't do those things. You and me, we didn't do those things.
There is a reason why the sins of the father do not get visited upon the son, because at some point in time you got to let it go. And now, according to these weirdos, if your great grandfather did something, you have to be held accountable for it. Even though your existence may be the antithesis of what that particular person did. You may have actually spent your entire life helping homeless people and donating to every charity imaginable. But because you may have a very tepid blood relation to General Custer, you're now a piece of shit who isn't allowed out in the light of day. And I'm like, what happened to forgiveness? Like,
you want to know where that actually happens? It happens in Star Wars, in the actual canon leading into Episode 7. Leia is, I think she's a senator, or she may even be the Supreme Chancellor at that point, or she's running for Supreme Chancellor. She's in the running, I think, to be Supreme Chancellor. However, people find out that Darth Vader was her father, and they cancel her, and she has to leave the Senate. Because Darth Vader was her father. Never mind the fact that she led the rebellion to defeat Darth Vader.
Yeah, I know.
That's canon now. That's canon.
That's not canon. That's Disney garbage.
Well, that's Disney canon.
By the way, Apollo, that speech was beautiful. I wish more people could hear that. That is one of the most summed up things I've ever heard of what's wrong with society. Because we literally are having these psychos basically preach, all right, everybody, you know what we all need to do? Hold grudges to people, especially that have nothing to do with that.
Well, it's I saw a meme the other day that perfectly kind of sums up the point that you're making, Kev. It was a white person looking at a Muslim, and it said, my father died in 9/11. And the Muslim says, what does that have to do with me? And then it's a black person looking at a white person, and it says, my great-great-grandfather was a slave. And the white person saying, what does that have to do with me? It's the same thing. We cannot be held accountable for the horrible actions of other people. And we cannot be made to. We tell all these stories about like the Jedi in this are colonizers. They come to this place where this coven of witches are like the only people there, that we thought this place was uninhabited. We come here, we find the indigenous people, and we steal their children and kill them all.
Thank you.
I was getting.
I've been sitting here waiting. That's the point. I don't think that little girl killed any of them. I think they're going to come out that the Jedi killed all of them.
100%, because why else would Jedi Master White Guilt drink poison?
I know. And even so, what we saw what? So we had the TV spot that showed the black eye thing, right? So something's going to happen. The fire's going to break out. The witches are probably blaming the Jedi for setting the fire. Listen. No matter what happens, because of how she constructed the story, it really doesn't matter what the Jedi do, because the Witchers are going to blame the Jedi for the fire, which means there's going to be some element of mind control, and then they're going to have to start fighting them to probably save the Padawans. None of this happens if Murder, Death, Kill Girl doesn't set the fire. So it's like they're gonna try again, and they love to do this. They try to take and again we saw it where Jedi Master Superfan tried to equate Anakin slaughtering the kids during Order 66 with Luke blowing up the Death Star.
No, he didn't even do that. He said Anakin blew up the Death Star.
I know. I'm gonna correct this. We don't have time.
Wait, was it an inside conspiracy we're talking about here?
No, I was saying they like to do this thing where they try to pretend that there's a moral gray area where we make false equivalency. So like Luke blowing up a military installation filled with military contractors and workers and conscripted soldiers who were there to essentially obliterate everybody on the planet below, with Anakin walking into a daycare and killing all the babies. He's like, no, that's not the same thing. So they like to play fast and loose with false moral equivalencies. And I'm saying, like, next week, I'm assuming we're going to get the Jedi are going to be blamed for starting the fires. The witches are going to try to mind control the Jedi. There's going to be a bunch of infighting. Then the Jedi are going to realize they have to kill the witches to get out of there. And that's what they're all going to feel bad about. But I'm like, none of this is going to matter because the psychopathic murder child set a fire to kill her sister. So it's like it just you're
that is going to be so glossed over. By the way, I really feel I think that's going to be like Wanda enslaving the minds of everybody with they'll never know what you sacrifice for them. No, they don't care what you sacrifice for them because you enslaved them and their children.
You tortured them for over a year and held their children hostage. I don't care that your vibrator broke. And your imaginary kids only existed in your mind. That's not an excuse for throwing a temper tantrum for over a year. But it's gonna be. We know they're gonna ramrod it through to try to be like Jedi were bad and witches were good.
I think it goes beyond that. I think we're gonna find. I think they planted the seeds for this in Ahsoka with like the other galaxy and stuff like that in the Night Sisters. We're gonna find out. The witches are the original users of the Force. They were the first users of the Force. It was all women, and the Jedi are evil, and they came along and they appropriated the culture and they took it over.
So what happened first? Did she get signed on to make a Star Wars project and then find out that there's witches, so she got excited about it? Or did someone tell her that there were witches in Star Wars, so she decided she wanted to make witches in Star Wars? I can't.
I have no expected. Way.
Go ahead.
I have expected Mama Yas to all of a sudden go, sisters.
Well, I'm just saying this feels like a story told by someone who doesn't understand anything about Star Wars, but heard that there was witches in it and said, ooh, I love witches. You know, that's how it feels
and
to
they're
me.
Calling them witches, like
Filoni signed off on this, right? So
could you imagine if they start referring to the people in the Jedi?
Hold on, Nolan, hold on. Kevin was talking.
Well, I guarantee you, she presented her terrible story idea, and Filoni said, "Okay, we know how to make this work. You can use these characters to tell this story, and it's not going to interfere with anything I want to do."
Nolan, what were you going to say?
Oh, no, sorry. Sorry to interrupt there, but I was just saying, like, it's uncomfortable that they even use the term witches because, like, that starts going into, things that are debated topics in the real world. If you started bringing in, started calling people the Jedi, like, the Pope or the nuns or something like that, and if you start portraying them in a positive or negative stuff, we already have enough things that people are arguing about. We don't need religious arguments. Remember, in Star Wars.
They called the Jedis deranged monks in this.
Yeah, that's what John was saying earlier. So the fact that they call themselves witches was weird to me because I feel like it's such a contemporary term. I know they use witches when describing the Night Sisters. The Night Sisters, however, never call themselves witches.
Yeah,
they are sometimes called the Witches of Dathomir, but they call themselves the Night Sisters, and like the Mountain Tribe called themselves the Mountain Tribe. She's like, it wasn't like the order of them, their order should have had a name. It should have just been, I'm going to be a witch, like you're Sabrina, or the Sanderson sisters, which all I could think the entire time was the Sanderson sisters. But I have expected Bette Midler to show up, which, by the way, would have made that better somewhat.
In the chat, I left two.
I just want to say Sungo10 76001 for $10. Thank you so much. I just want to say thank you all for your hard work. Stop watching wrestling back in 03 WrestleMania. Came back because of the lead up to WrestleMania 40. Channels like yours keep me invested. Thank you so much. That means the world to us, and we are so glad that you're here with us. Thank you very much, folks. If you also want your comments about the Acolyte read aloud, make sure to super chat through the stream over at Tooney Town Wrestling.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, go ahead, Dis.
So I put it in the group chat there. The pictures of Twitches, which was a Disney Channel original movie starring Tia and Tamara Lowry about twin witches, and also Mary-Kate and Ashley, Double Toil and Trouble, the VHS release from the early 90s where they played witches. Both sprang to mind while I was watching the show. Yeah, it felt like all of those things. It felt like you said, Sabrina, Disney Channel movies earlier. It felt everything is handed to you on such a silver platter, and it's made so obvious what the messaging is. There's no nuance at all.
Nuance. What's that?
Exactly.
This show writes its message on a sledgehammer and beats you in the face with it.
I was like, and let's we have to be fair though to some of these Disney Channel exclusive movies, because they do put a lot more thought into their plot than we're getting here. Because again, I just like I will admit, even before I had kids, I'm a movie nerd. So if it looks remotely entertaining, I'll give it a whirl. I'll give it a whirl. I had no business watching The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, but you know what? If it was on, I watched it every single time.
Can I tell you something I love, and I'm going to get ragged on relentlessly. If Awful is listening to this, I really hope he's not, because he's going to never let me hear the end of it. I love Hannah Montana.
That was a good show. Hannah Montana,
I thought that show was so funny.
Sweet Life. It was Disney. I grew up on a lot, because usually when we were moving around when I was a kid, we got different stations and stuff like that. But consistently, we would usually somehow get the Disney Channel. There was a time in my life where Disney was like the only kids channel I had. I bet you I watched Wizards, Hannah Montana, a bunch of their original movies and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the thing I like about those movies is it's not for everybody. It's niche. Not everybody is going to jive with it. But the people working on it knew what they were working on. It's like we're making Hannah Montana. We're not trying to make a massive movement that's going to change the world forever, and every human that doesn't like it is a monstrosity. No, they were making a film about a pop star.
Yeah.
I have a brother. I have a brother that's my youngest brother is 10 years younger than me. So like when I was a teen, like he was the age for like those Disney Channel shows and stuff like that. So I would watch with him because, he was the youngest. He had control over the TV. And there were so many of them where I'm like, oh man, this is really funny. Like that's how I got into the Fairly Odd Parents. That's how I got into SpongeBob. Like,
see, I'm more old school. I was Lizzie McGuire, Even Stevens, Kim Possible, that whole era back then, which by the way, I'm pretty sure I was still about 22 years old when I was watching without children.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because when my kid was doing Disney, it was Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, which the space episode of Mickey Mouse Clubhouse is still better than the Acolyte.
When I was a kid, Disney Channel.
I agree.
when I was a kid, Disney Channel was like, and I was still probably too young for this, but in reruns, it was reruns of like Dumbo Circus.
Yep, that's
which
what
is
I watched.
nightmare fuel.
Dumbo Circus, Welcome to Pooh Corner was a big one. Yeah, I watched it.
For those of you that don't understand what I'm talking about, hold on one second. Because I can't just say Dumbo Circus and then like not actually I share this with people.
Dumbo Circus.
What was that?
I remember the words to the theme song, the Dumbo Circus.
Well, you're about to hear them again. Because
oh my gosh.
Oh man. Dumbo Circus. I loved it. This was nightmare fuel. I'm sorry, but like I loved it. And like it came out before I was It came out before I was born, but like Disney Channel at the time just reran everything endlessly.
Did you know? Okay, there was it was a piece of lost media for a while, actually.
Tumble Circus was?
No, well, some of it was, but no. Welcome to Pooh Corner, which is this, but for Winnie the Pooh. They did an episode about.
Oh, I know. Welcome to Pooh Corner. I watched that as a kid.
They did a Stranger Danger episode.
Oh, really?
Where Winnie the Pooh talked to Piglet about what could happen to him, and they said what parts not to touch. You have Winnie the Pooh pointing out the parts of your body not to let strangers touch you in.
No. No.
It was lost. It's recently found. That exists. You can go on YouTube and find the Stranger Danger Winnie the Pooh.
Don't let the strangers rob your stitching.
All right, Piglet. Remember, never let them touch your Tigger tail.
I don't mean that this was like this is like 15 minutes long.
Oh my God. This is like it was like the equivalent of a different Strokes head.
There's a song too. He sings a song about it. Yeah, he sings a song about don't let him touch your thing. Like he really does. It's
seriously.
Don't do it.
Yeah.
Okay, I know what your second video needs to be.
Yeah, for real. You need to cover that.
That got found. That's not lost anymore.
But it was.
But hey, it's still not common knowledge. Like, I think we all need to know about Pooh's Stranger Danger song.
We can do it. Just do a hidden gems episode.
Yeah, maybe I will.
Good Lord, yes.
Oh, you found it?
No, I just found the Welcome to Pooh Corner opening.
Oh.
Just so people can see the horror.
That looks cute.
It was. I liked Welcome to Pooh Corner.
Are we about to find out there's a secret addiction episode of Jubilee Zoo?
Here we go.
A happy hoopty poo time.
He worries away the
Yeah.
I love this.
Oh my God.
This isn't bad. I'm sorry.
No, I mean, like when I was a kid, it was my jam. I loved it.
No, I mean, yeah, I like the. I would still show this to a kid who's.
Oh, hold on, look at the ticket bouncing effect.
Yeah, this is great.
He doesn't even leave his feet. Clearly.
Props to these costumes though, because aside from I guess Pooh, Pooh's the only creepy one. The rest of them are actually pretty good.
Piglet's kind of creepy.
Yeah, I mean, Pooh looks like Blood and Honey. Like he looks like the Blood and Honey version of Winnie the Pooh.
I think this one is scarier than Blood and Honey.
Andre Adams checking in with $5. Thank you so much. Says me and my godson would binge PJ Masks and Mickey Mouse Clubhouse.
Don't get me started.
Dance
Those
that hot dog.
terrible PJ Masks kids.
Yeah.
Those PJ Masks kids are the worst kids on earth. They are.
I'm
awful.
sure your godson's great though, Andre.
But yes, Godson, God bless you. I watched a lot of PJ Masks with my daughters, and I'm like, oh my God, these kids are.
What was it? Is it worse than Caillou?
And there's an episode where they make fun of Luna Girl for being homeless.
Are you serious?
Yeah. I had to watch that crap. Yep. I watched it for a little while. Turned after a while, I figured out that Paw Patrol was a better.
They always redeem themselves within the final 2 minutes of the episode. And you're like no, the villains are actually the good kids.
When it comes to modern day children's entertainment, I kind of like Bubble Guppies. I thought that was a good kid show.
Loved Bubble Guppies. Loved Bubble Guppies. You know, honestly,
we are just like determined to talk about anything but
the Acolyte. Stuff that actually still makes us happy that hasn't been ruined.
From the bottom of my heart, when my son was diagnosed with autism, I had someone to point to using Bubble Guppies. So I found out there was an autistic kid in Bubble Guppies, and I watched it, and he reminded me of my son. So I let my son watch Bubble Guppies, and he identified with that child. And that, say what you want about children's entertainment from that time, but Bubble Guppies, thumbs up, man. I'll watch that today.
Absolutely. And as someone with a younger brother with autism, I will say autism in programming is one of the most overlooked aspects when it comes to children's programming, because there's some shows that are kind of experimental, like they try to connect with them, and they really don't seem to jive with people. But it seems
nowadays,
over the course of history, sorry, I'll let you make a point.
Right.
But it seems like over the course of history, all these companies and CEOs are all about, yeah, we need to join in on the agenda so we can get the headlines, in our children's programs and stuff, for better or worse. But when it comes to autism, they're just such a second thought. It's like, I remember in the old episodes of Thomas the Tank Engine, they filmed it with models, and the faces, they would swap them out for different, so the characters were either really happy or really sad. It's easy for people with autism to identify in those traits what is a happy expression, which is a sad. Now, but when a CEO gets their hand on it, it's like, well, let's make that CGI so the autistic kids can't appeal to that anymore. Or let's make it super hyper to compete with like Paw Patrol or something. It's ridiculous. They don't actually care.
And we're talking about the fact that, it's good to see for autistic kids to see themselves in things. In children's programming, like in your formative years growing up, like you cannot, and yes, you could say Star Wars is supposed to be for kids, so that's why representation matters. This is not for kids. A man drank poison last week. Like,
oh no,
nothing about this is for children. By the way, John JID 999 for $2. Thank you so much. Says, I grew up on Power Rangers Jungle Fury. My God, you're a fetus. I love him to death. And Brendan,
good show.
Brendan White says they're going to make Anakin many of the chosen ones, which will completely destroy his mystique, and should have had KK saying F George Lucas after credits. I mean, seriously, it makes, you're exactly right, Brendan. Thank you for £5. We're saying that Anakin is no longer special. The chosen one is no longer special. When they find out that they even went as far as to have Mama Yas say that the same line as Shmi Skywalker, there was no father. But except Shmi Skywalker says it in like this confused, befuddled way. Mama Yas says it in this proud way. There was no father. We don't need no man here.
I'm pretty sure Leslie Headland would have said it the exact same way.
I'm pretty sure that was a line reading given to her by Leslie Headland, probably.
The problem is it's in all honesty, it's one of the things. Luke's treatment in Last Jedi is something that there are actually college courses being taught about the Last Jedi, which I find absolutely fascinating. But I think one of the worst things that they did about it, was at the end of it, you turn the Force into a participation trophy, and since that happened, they've doubled down on it. They doubled down on it in Ahsoka.
With Sabine, yeah. You don't need the Force to be a Jedi.
You don't need the Force to be a Jedi. You don't even need to be Force sensitive to be a Jedi. You just got to kind of go, and now you can use the Force. It's like now really, if you go to any supermarket and you put your hand out in front of the door, you are actually using the Force now.
Yep.
That's how watered down it's become. So
I identify as a Force user. Thus, I am a Force user.
So of course the chosen one was going to be watered down because it doesn't really mean anything. It's all just kind of meaningless. And again, it comes back down to I'm taking away the thing that you love. It's mine now, and because I don't care about it, no one's going to care about it. Anakin being the chosen one, and again, this flies in the face of the entire Mortis arc, right? Like we understood why Anakin was the chosen one, and ultimately why Anakin fails at being the chosen one, and why it gets given to Luke. We saw it. And we spent a whole lot of time on Ahsoka. I'm trying to bring it back.
And this completely the father talks about the Force as the Force. In no way is he like it's the thread. No, but what is this? And it is absolutely ridiculous. And Dave Filoni signed off on this. He made it a point to talk about how he approves this series. And I'm like, you cuck. You were George Lucas's Padawan. You understood this. You wrote the Clone Wars. You wrote the Rebels, 2 amazing series. Okay, you understood this. And you worked on Avatar: The Last Airbender, one of the greatest cartoons of all time. And now you are just rolling over and doing whatever these ladies tell you to do. Because, Pro made the point last night that, or it was the Pro or Jonas made the point that his wife apparently is some witchy woman. And that might be where all the witch stuff is coming from.
Yeah. And she's also, I'd like to say, it sucks too, because as someone who has a lot of books in this subject and has studied up on these kind of stuff and knows people who are interested in that sort of thing. Dave Filoni's wife seems kind of cuckoo, So it also sucks when you get the most extreme viewpoints of people in control of something that goes to a lot of the masses. Because it's like when, say, if you're part of a Christian organization, there's a lot of Christians doing a lot of good in the world, but unfortunately, the creepy cults make a lot of the headlines. It's sad.
No, I 100% agree. And there's nothing wrong with pagan religions or, things like that. It's just nowadays, like we were talking about autism before. People are legitimately autistic, but now every adult who is a little bit shy says that they're autistic without being diagnosed.
Yeah.
Thank you!
I wonder how this become a thing. I'm like, what? It's like, no, like trying to reel it in. So we don't have a lot of time, so I don't want to go into nightmares. But it's like, no, listen, dude, you're just socially awkward. That doesn't mean you have autism. Stop taking things away from the people who actually need the help, who need the services. Because again, going back to the Nolan's point earlier about how these CEOs don't care, I think it's fascinating that, like, over the last 8 years, we see more and more kids with different kind of sensory issues. They're just kind of popping up. So they require a little extra help. And again, it does blow my mind that we are so fast to want to cram agenda into their programming, an agenda that they're not even going to understand yet. And frankly should be kind of managed by the parents, but we won't do things like help them learn how to process not being overwhelmed by their sensory issues, or kind of helping them understand, hey, like, this may be a little weird to someone else, but hey, kid, you're normal. It's okay. The priorities are never on the things that they need to be focused on. It's always on just, I got a checkbox, and I'm gonna check it as big and as fast as I can because someone told me that this is the thing we need to pretend to care about, and the things that we should be caring about, who gives a shit? There is no money in it right now.
Right.
I'll tell this story real quick, and it might be a good place to round it out so we can move on, because I know Marv wants to move on. So I found out that my son was on the spectrum because he was taking his Hot Wheels, and instead of playing with them, he was lining them up in groups based on size and color. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's how
my brother does that too.
That's how I found out my son was on the spectrum. I took him. I just casually mentioned to the doctor, and she goes, that's interesting behavior. Because he did this with his blocks. He did this, anything. This is how he played with things. And I just thought it was a quirk. So I asked her, or I told her, and she goes, well, let's get this checked out. So we got it checked out. And at 3 years old, I found my son was on the spectrum. When I got him into speech therapy and occupational therapy, I was talking to one of the other parents there, and I asked out, and I told the story, and I said, well, how did you find out that your son was on the spectrum? And she goes, well, he wasn't listening very well. That's all you need to know about it.
Oh boy.
There's such, because exactly like
we have the diabetics cannot get access to medications like Ozempic anymore because people are using it for weight loss. Shut up. People need these things or they will die. Eat a fucking salad, you fat turd. Like, let this person have the medication they need to live. Because everybody wants it's the eternal victim complex, and that is what this show leans into. It is the galaxy is not a safe place for women like us. And by the way, I need to make a bold prediction right now about this show, about where it's going, about a twist that I see coming a mile away. First of all, when the Sith Master's mask comes off, it's going to be Asian Ezra Miller. We all know that, okay? I don't think he's the Master. Okay? I think that Mama Yas is going to be the ultimate power behind the Sith, which is why the Sith aren't bad in this. And I think she is in essence going to be Darth Plagueis.
Okay.
Because I believe fully that she has the same power as Darth Plagueis, and Palpatine was very, very specific that to cheat death, to create life, is a power only one has achieved. She's going to be that one. Maybe she'll use he, him pronouns or whatever, but she's going to be the Darth Plagueis character in this. I guarantee it. And we're going to have an I am your mother instead of I am your father. By the way, also, how is it that
Palpatine's mother?
Yeah, how is it that a black space lesbian creates a child in the womb of an Iridonian Zabrak, and they come out as black women
with no horns?
With no horns. They should have had horns. How cool would it have been if they had horns? If
Maybe
they were
that's
like
why their hair
Iridonian
never
Zabrak.
changes. Maybe their hair are their horns. That's why the hair never changes. It stays the same throughout their entire life. Exactly the same cut, exactly the same length.
They're saying children.
Yeah, there you go.
Oh boy! All right. So, do we want to? Anything else anybody wants to talk about with the Acolyte? Any like this week before we, we have to talk about it next week too.
Do we? Do we have to talk about it next week?
Yeah, I've kind of thrown my my whole thing behind it. My review of episode 3 will be coming out hopefully tomorrow. I'm working on it tomorrow, so it'll be either tomorrow or the next day. I'm gonna really push for it to come out tomorrow because I want to, kind of strike while the iron's hot. Oh, Duke is back.
Duke is going to bed.
Oh, good night, Duke.
Night, Duke.
Good night, Duke.
That's all right. Duke and I will get to learn. Duke and I will get to know each other when I have to train him in the woods after you're killed by your brother to await your return. All right. So moving. Oh, you know what? Let's talk about the reaction to this show. Not so much a review, but I do want to point out the extreme gaslighting that has been going on from Disney about this show. They were like 4.8 million people tune in for the premiere of The Acolyte. What they don't tell you is that was over 2 episodes. So at best, you're looking at about 2.4 million people per episode, which is great if you're Monday Night Raw. It's fantastic if you're AEW. It's atrociously horrible if you're Star Wars, especially considering the fact that there are 153 million Disney Plus subscribers. That is not even 1.5% of Disney Plus subscribers. Anyway, and they were like, oh, but it took Ahsoka 5 days to reach 14 million people. So this is off to a great start. Well, just the other day, we get this headline. I'm going to share a headline from our friends over at thatparkplace.com. The premier website for media news. The Acolyte performs worse than Ahsoka. Global minutes viewed less than Ahsoka's U.S. premiere viewership. New report confirms the Acolyte performed worse than. This is an article written, by the way, by John Trent over there, who I was on the stream with last night. Does a great job over at That Park Place. Has really turned this site into a just incredible powerhouse in the entertainment industry. Deadline's Katie Campion reported that, according to Lucasfilm data, the Acolyte's 2-episode premiere only attracted 11.1 million views globally after 5 days of streaming, which, as we just said, Ahsoka garnered 14 million views, making the series #1 globally on the streaming platform. Well, that is not good. Or in other words, something I do like to say in times like this. Well, how about
that? Hey, let's also throw this on there. What was the last thing that wasn't a movie that's debuted on Disney Plus? The Acolyte has no competition. X-Men 97 doesn't count. That's animated, and no one watched it, as wonderful as it was. But Ahsoka dropped what against Echo, and then what dropped a little before Echo? Like there was
Percy Jackson.
So but I'm saying there were things that if I'm a Disney Plus watcher, right, and that means I'm just absorbing all this content. I'm watching new shows as they're dropping. The Acolyte has had nothing since before January. So you have essentially a 6.5, almost 7 month empty runway. Of course, you should have pulled huge numbers, but 4.5 million people globally, when we can all be very open about how no one is watching Doctor Who.
Yeah.
So the tiny UK has more people watching Doctor Who with no one watching Doctor Who than watched The Acolyte on the entirety of Disney Plus. I don't know why we're running around and throwing ourselves our 5-person ticker tape parade over, frankly, something that's less than mediocre. We We are celebrating failure. Like we just came home from the Apollo moon landing.
It's like when a football coach has a really, really bad season, and at the end of it, instead of like holding accountability, he's like, you know what? I'm just so proud of this locker room. It was really hard getting to these 4 wins, but it's gonna be great next year. And then he's fired like a day later.
John JID 999, he super chats like a champion. So if he's having a hard time with super chatting right now for something, I'm just gonna read his thing aloud anyway. He says, "I'm trying to super chat something and won't let me. When I see people who are apologizing for Disney and Star Wars, all I see is Dax Hardwood saying AEW feeds my family with the best wrestle." That is 100% true, and that brings me to my next point, because like clockwork, folks, we all saw it coming. We all knew that it was going to have to happen at some point. Here we go. Access Media blames fans for ruining Star Wars, not the people at Lucasfilm posting agendas. Okay, we saw this headline at Inverse. The Acolyte isn't ruining Star Wars. You are. You are. You. It's you. In the article, Scott, this is also from thatparkplace.com, by the way, by John Trent. In the article, Scott declares that the Acolyte is, quote, one of the best additions to that galaxy far away in a long time, embracing decades of nostalgia while also thinking critically on the franchise's legacy. She then adds, it also might be the most diverse Star Wars story yet, and while that's definitely a boon for marginalized fans, it's made the Acolyte the target of a vocal splinter of the fandom. Yeah, a vocal splinter of the fandom. That's why nobody's watching this show.
The least diverse Star Wars.
It's so diverse. There isn't an actual masculine, dark-skinned black male on this show anywhere.
No.
Anywhere. He does not exist. I'm shocked that because we're talking about it that I haven't been Thanos snapped. That's how few actual dark-skinned black males there are on this show.
The only black male on this show is this idiot who literally is a light-skinned black male who only exists for them to dunk on.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah. He is there to be told, "Shut up, stupid man," and to reenact probably some really creepy thing that probably happened to Leslie Headland with a man in power being naked in an office for no viable reason.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is the least diverse Star Wars because it's vaguely Asian men, it's all women, but they're all humans, and Star Wars is with a few Wookiees,
with the exception of Padawan Chitara here.
Yeah.
Chitara and Man Bun Wookiee.
Yeah, and Jedi Master Leslie Headland's wife.
That's far less diverse than the creature-filled worlds that we're used to in Star Wars.
By the way, mark my words. In Episode 4, when we actually get to meet this Wookiee, I'm calling it right now. They them pronouns. I'm calling it right now.
Oh man.
From there, she makes it clear who she's disparaging in the article. Whether you know them as the fandom menace or a cluster of blue checkmark users on Twitter, it's impossible to escape their orbit. The same folks that review bomb diverse swings like Marvel's Eternals and the Lord of the Rings, the Rings of Power, have now set their sights on the Acolyte. It's just people who don't like it.
Hold on. So I am psychotic, and I actually read some of the reviews for the Acolyte, and when you read them, they're actually pretty thoughtful. So that's not a review bomb. But we're also ignoring the fact that we have the bots positive review bombing.
That is true.
So it's like you can't have it both ways. It's just because I don't like something doesn't mean that I am a bigot, an isterophobe, or some crazy person just screaming at the moon. It's like you can have a viable, valid opinion that is pieced together with logic. I'm sorry that you churn out subpar entertainment.
You know how different spans of history had different terminologies used when you're like really upset with somebody? You know how in the old times you could call someone a peasant? Is it going to be in our history books? It's like, yeah, back in those days, anybody they didn't like, they just called them an isterophobe or something like that.
No. Yes. I mean, it should be. It should be in there. I can't say that it will be in there.
Well, I do find interesting about kind of what we're seeing in entertainment and I can't remember who, someone, or maybe it was Phil said it yesterday. When we are talking about how they handle media, how they handle entertainment, they're writing this stuff so that in 20, 30 years, that it's their point of view that's the one that's going to be in the textbook.
Yeah.
So it's there. You'll have an easier time finding the Acolyte on a streaming service than you will be able to find the original trilogy. You Star Trek Discovery instead of the original series. They're actively rewriting and reworking history, in their image, and getting rid of anything that's old, so that if someone comes along and goes, oh well, no, this is just kind of what it is.
And now look at this. The origins of this toxicity aren't difficult to figure out. At the end of the day, it boils down to entitlement. Many male fans feel like they own the franchise and are determined to safeguard it from anyone that could challenge that ownership. No, they don't own the franchise. They are the single biggest demographic for the franchise, you idiot. That's the audience. I'm sorry you don't like your audience, Disney. I'm sorry you don't like your audience. That's your audience. And the first rule of writing entertainment is know your audience. But I know my audience. I know what they want to see when I write the headlock headlines every week. All right. Could you imagine if I started doing things completely, at the antithesis of what these people want just because I don't like my audience anymore and I want a new one that doesn't exist?
It all comes into the audience, the fans, fandom. These are your customers. They are not consumers. They are not obligated to consume your content. They're not obligated to part with their money. When you have a fan who chooses to spend money, they are making an investment, and the ROI that they're looking for is to be entertained for 30 to 47 minutes. They want to be able to sit down with their kid and pass it down. They want to have something to talk about with their friends when they go to work the next day, when they're standing by the coffee machine. They don't want some spoiled brat who's never had to work a day in their lives, who went to an overpriced school and has no worldly experience, telling them telling them via this person's favorite character that everything that they love in life is incorrect, and that they're an ignorant piece of crap because something as simple as they don't want the government telling their kid to do XYZ. It is astonishing that this very small but vocal group of people who have been allowed to fail upwards for the last 10 to 15 years, in a creative, it's a vacuum. There is no creativity. There's a dearth of creativity in Hollywood right now.
Everything is a remake, a sequel, a prequel, everything.
With entire divisions dedicated to content mining things to reboot. But when you sit down and go, no, like, we just want to be entertained, you're the villain for saying, no, don't do it that way. I'll give you money if you don't do it this way.
Well, and look at this. That makes it hard for disparate groups to coexist, and it's even harder for any non-white, non-male creatives hoping to tell stories within the franchise. Yes, because they're entitled to tell Star Wars stories. Yeah. We're entitled to run this show. We're entitled to this. You are not entitled to this. The person that should be writing Star Wars is the person that is willing to give the audience what they want. Disney has... listen, I have demographic information on my audience for my YouTube channel, which is 4,000 people on one, and Tooney Town TV is over 500 people at this point. Okay, and I have detailed demographics. You're telling me Disney doesn't know what its Star Wars audience looks like and are actively ignoring that? It's insulting.
Yeah. Well, look what happens to Apollo's point. Look what happens when you do give the audience what it wants, and when you do, they do vote with their money, and we saw that with Bad Boys this past
Bad Boys weekend. Ride or Die made $105 million at the box office this past week. That doesn't happen anymore.
With the critics going out of their way to try to humiliate Will Smith.
Oh yeah.
With every review, I think Will has a hard enough life as it is. But it's clearly he's on the we need to break your spirit shit list, and it's like, come on, what are you getting out of it? But again, I said it to you earlier too. Like, hey, this kind of proves a very simple point. Audiences kind of like overt masculinity. Like sometimes you just want to be entertained. Sometimes you just want to see something blow up. You want to see someone get their ass kicked. And you want to go home. You want to see the good guys win in the end.
And you want to see actors that you want to see actors that you know and that you recognize. You want to, you don't want to. I mean, it's silly to say that considering where we are.
Audiences, audiences, they want to see good versus evil. They want to see good guys and bad guys. They want to see the black hats and the white hats, basically, like the dark side and the light side. They also, they want to see masculinity. They also want to see femininity. And that's why every time you put George Lucas said, you put a woman in pants and you call her a hero, it doesn't work.
Yeah, Ghostbusters 2016. If people will use that as an example of toxic masculinity, and that's the reason that movie failed. The movie failed because it was terrible.
It was toxic femininity on top of it too.
It absolutely was. But I mean, you can make that movie and still have an audience. You could argue Bridesmaids to some extent does that. But
look at the WNBA right now.
Don't get me started on that.
The WNBA has been a unlaughable, unfunny joke since it launched in '97. So at least they had the benefit of it was brand new, and people were fascinated with some of the players. Once you got to 1999, no one gave two shits. And now we have a spot with, for whatever reason, the people have gravitated towards Caitlin Clark. She is the girl, and you're watching these mean, bitter, jealous women do everything in their power to bully this girl, and the incompetent leaders, general managers in the WNBA do not know how to get it under control. Part of it is they're afraid that if they discipline these girls, that they're going to be called racist, to the moon. But you also have some of these girls doing their press junkets, being asked legitimate questions and throwing temper tantrums and storming out. No one cares enough about your league, for you to be acting like an entitled child.
This is the first time anyone is paying any attention to the WNBA. They should be clinging to this woman.
This girl, she got snubbed for the Olympic team because of how they are choosing to treat her. So it's like, not only is this an embarrassment, but hey guys, here is now a full example of toxic femininity, because I'm gonna twist someone's panties when I was going to say what I'm going to say, but there are hard differences between men and women in certain aspects of life. Men generally understand that the rising tide will lift all ships. And I may think you're a piece of shit, but I will find a way to work with you to get something done. Generally, especially if you've ever had the misfortune of working in an office environment with a bunch of women and you are the only man, women are the most vicious people on the planet to each other. They will burn the building down just to spite someone. And we are watching this play out real time. These girls would rather kill Caitlin Clark on national television than allow her to shine, so that they are.
The rising tide would raise all the ships at that point. They'd all would make, because the big thing with that is they're always like, oh, the WNBA, isn't it so that they don't make as much money as the NBA players? Yeah, no crap, because they don't. The WNBA doesn't make as much money as the NBA. But now, if you're making more money, everybody gets paid more.
If we paid the WNBA players in accordance to what they earn, they owe us money. So it's like, that is a chance for you to turn it around and be taken seriously, because now you have an actual star. You haven't had stars since 1997. So stop. So again, the pull back to my greater point. The people just kind of like want to have fun, and we're being told that if you happen to if you want to go watch if you want to go watch the Expendables, you're a piece of crap because you don't want to go watch Captain Marvel. But hey, I'm watching real life Captain Marvel play out over here, and if you're a normal person capable of rational thought, you're going, why in God's green earth would I ever want to put myself in an environment like the WNBA where they are actively savaging somebody for the sake of she's not me.
Mm-hmm. Well, and
Beautifully
look at George Lucas
about like
George. I want to move on for the WNBA. George Lucas said that recently that I was the one who really knew what Star Wars was, who actually knew this world, because there's a lot to it. The Force, for example, nobody understood the Force. He then added, when they started other ones after I sold the company, a lot of the ideas were in the original sort of got lost, but that's the way it is. You give it up, you give it up. George knew what was coming down the pipeline. He knew what was about to happen. He knew what was in this show. And George Lucas was like, look, this ain't my Star Wars. Don't blame this on me. They don't understand the Force. They are not adhering to my vision. Dave Filoni is not adhering to my vision. And that is, that is 100%, what he, and now we're look at what has happened now, with, hold on, let me pull it up here. Rotten Tomatoes score. We are now at 22% fan score and 85% critic score. The critic score has gone down.
Well, again, remember too, we had a couple of critics that crapped all over this, and Disney made them remove their negative feedback.
Oh, they put it back up.
Which I thought
top critics are 72%. All critics are 85%. So that dropped about 6%. Audience score has dropped from about 27% to 22%, which is insane. I think we can get this below 20% at some point if the quality of this show continues the way that is.
Rotten Tomatoes will freeze it. They'll freeze it like they do with everything else. We haven't. You can't trust Rotten Tomatoes. Not since
no.
I can't remember what year was Captain Marvel where they kind of just flat out told you no, we're not going to let this happen.
I lost faith in Rotten Tomatoes after the Mario movie. Like the way they clearly had a bias towards everything, or Little Mermaid, where they quote unquote were trying to stop the review bombing. Nah, it's all Rotten Tomatoes is irrelevant and shouldn't even really be considered much of anything.
Doesn't Disney have a chunk of it? Didn't they pick that?
Wouldn't surprise me.
Well, I mean, they all definitely kowtow Disney. Disney was, but I think as Disney loses money, Disney loses power, and I think that's what you're going to start seeing a shift in that. I think people are going to start kowtowing a bit more to Universal, a bit more to Comcast, because they're kind of rising up.
I thought that Fox had a part of Rotten Tomatoes, and then when Disney bought Fox, they got that part. So, because I think it's Viacom or Comcast now that has a Metacritic. Yeah. So that's can't really. None of this stuff I want to really pay attention to.
I want to move on from the Acolyte because we've been talking about it for like 2 hours. Dis, you wanted to discuss Summer Game Fest.
Just a little.
I know this is in a lot of our wheelhouses here.
Yeah. So I watched Summer Games Fest, and did anybody? I know you guys caught a few things, but did anybody actually slog through the whole thing?
I couldn't this year. I can't. I can't stand. What is his name? Jeff Groff or whatever it is.
Jeff Keighley.
Jeff Keighley,
the killer of E3. Yes, Jeff Keighley.
Yes. I can't stand Jeff Keighley on a good day when there might be trailers for something that I want to see. Like if I think FF7 or Kingdom Hearts or something like that is going to be given a trailer, I can't stand him then. I really can't stand him on a year where there's really nothing I care about other than Dragon Age, which was destroyed.
Yeah.
So.
Here's my only thing is that I started noticing it about 10 or 15 trailers in. I think that there were only maybe 5 or 6 male protagonists in any of these games.
Of course, because the gaming industry is currently the next. Gaming is currently under attack, and they've destroyed movies, they've destroyed TV, they're now destroying gaming, and they're about to destroy wrestling.
Yeah, it was.
They can't they won't get the wrestling, but they will.
They can get through it because Tony Khan lets them get to it.
There's AEW is in its own little failure pocket. The wrestling, for better or worse, wrestling is the WWE. Everything else is just someone who just happened to be tailgating in the parking lot. We've talked about this many times. I mean, not in the air, but yeah, as these people fail upward and out, they destroyed movies, they destroyed TV, they destroyed comics. And now video games are unfortunately their last vestige. And what have we seen over the last 5 years? Most AAA titles bomb. Most AAA titles bomb now. I can't think of anything I'm actually looking forward to. And I was
the gaming industry sees that that the tide is turning against them now, that like people are pushing back against this. And that's why the gaming industry is having a prolonged hissy fit right now.
Yeah.
You're seeing people like this Alyssa Mercante, who's the second coming of Frosk. You saw what they did when Kotaku was like, we want you to write actual game guides again. The Kotaku staff writers threw a hissy fit because all they want to write about is social justice in video games.
Well, they have video games. It's like so like again, the AAA title is dead. Exclusivity is slowly murdering companies because why do I want to buy a game? Why do I want to buy a game that sucks that's exclusive to PlayStation? It's like
so there are two games I think that we're focused on this year. Two games that Kevin, you and I have kind of like bonded over the years in our friendship: Fable and Dragon Age. And both of them have been modern audience to death. What was that?
I'll get to Fable. Nolan, what was it you were saying earlier?
Sorry, Nolan.
Thank you. No, it's all good. Hey, it's been a great discussion. What I wanted to say was, though, you're saying that their next site was gaming. They've been doing this a while. Like, for the past decade or so, since, like, I'd say around 2013-ish, they have been having their eyes on these games. And I would say the thing they are trying to freshly... Because there's a war going on right now with the gaming industry, and I think the counter has a lot more say than what they do in the movie industry, because Hollywood kind of lives in a bubble and is and people they could ride off the success of the past for a lot longer. Movies take longer to come out, and they could be done in a shorter production time. Gaming, we're seeing them fall a lot harder because game development is a lot harder than movie development. It takes longer. Nerds are going to be a lot louder in gaming. It's just a part of the culture. It used to be advertised a lot as a counterculture, especially like old PlayStation or Sega ads.
Yeah,
it's just the nature of the industry.
I think, Nolan, what you're seeing is also Disney can have bomb after bomb after bomb and still stay afloat. A AAA studio is always one bomb away from going completely under.
Yeah. Well, look at Alpha Dream that made the Mario and Luigi games on the Game Boy, the DS, and this is literally linked to one of the most popular characters on the planet. They made some bad financial decisions with some of these games, betting the farm on certain games. They bomb, they're gone. Like their employees, I think, integrated into Nintendo. It's go ahead, this.
I was going to Volition, the guys who did Red Faction and Saints Row. Saints Row was probably my favorite franchise for the 360 generation, that era. And Red Faction games were fantastic. And they got, PC'd to death on the Saints Row reboot. And they're gone. They're just gone. And the Saints Row and Red Faction are now owned by a conglomerate in Canada who buys up everything. And that's what that's where they are.
Are you referring to what's it called? Not Influencer. What's the name of that big company that owns Tomb Raider?
Same one. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. The one, they are a can of worms themselves. So they've had their sights on gaming for quite a while now, and I think gaming is going to course correct sooner than movies will, because Hollywood will die and burn on this pedestal. I think gaming is going to be kind of forced, especially with some of its ties to Japan and such, Asian cultures. Gaming will have to countercorrect because, take Rocksteady that does the Batman Arkham games. They won't exist I'm calling it now. They won't exist in 2 years. They're probably going to be gone in a year and a half.
Going away.
got axed by WB this week or last week, right?
Really?
Yeah.
I did not know.
I don't think they're fully axed yet, but no, the Wonder Woman game they were working on. I think that was Rocksteady working on the Wonder Woman game.
Yeah.
I think
And
that's
we're already seeing.
the lady
Sorry,
who
sorry.
was tried to organize the backlash and the against Hogwarts Legacy. The
Well,
boycott of Hogwarts
yeah.
Legacy. She was making a Wonder Woman game, and I heard that Wonder Woman game is gone. I don't know if that's Rocksteady or not. By the way, I'm replaying Hogwarts Legacy right now. Fantastic. Still just as good.
You would like to think that it would course correct, but when you have companies like Sony and Microsoft buying up all the studios, look what like this year. So okay, not this year, but Sony for the past few years has been pushing Horizon Zero Dawn, which is a fine game. Don't get me wrong, Horizon was a fine game, but when you have a VR system and the only thing you make for it is Horizon Zero Dawn, and then when you have a Lego deal and the only thing you make for it is Horizon Zero Dawn, and you pass Horizon Zero Dawn to different publishers to make things while you have God of War sitting on the shelf, while you have like they're pushing this game because this is the game that has a female protagonist, or this is the game that feels more like this, whereas our other games don't have that. And I noticed that so much this year in Games Fest, where every narrative-driven game you were taking the perspective of female, with the exception of the big male macho games like Gears and Doom and Call of Duty, to which they can point at and say, see, those are the boys. They're doing it. It feels like they're doing those are the boys games and those are the girls games, except there are way more girls games. And guess what? There aren't as many girls gamers as there are boys gamers. I don't care what you want to tell me or what Twitch says.
There are plenty of female gamers out there. I get that, but there's not as many.
That's not 75%. It's not 80%. And that's the percentage of the games that are being catered towards them right now. And that's all I'm saying.
I've met a ton of girl gamers, and you know what they like? Hot chicks. They like dressing up as cosplay. I've seen so many girls at conventions. I'm friends with a few of them, and they like attractive video game characters. And I think the benefit with the video game industry is they get to be the second one under threat of this virus, however you want to, whatever you view this virus as, of like the activists trying to shape everything in their own image. They've seen what happened with Hollywood. You're seeing the responses. You're seeing the Stellar Blade. You're seeing the Sweet Baby Ink Detected. You're seeing people completely counterfight Kotaku. And the movie industry, they're trying to appeal to everybody. The nerds, the jocks, the cheerleaders, the families. A lot of things that happened with, when it comes to your normies, I don't even really like the term normies. I don't think it's really the healthiest lingo, but it is a term that's used. When you're kind of stuck in, raising a family or something like that, you have to kind of put up with some content that you might not like because you're just too busy focusing on trying to take care of the survival of others. Activists and gamers, so much of this is their life. Activists, it's their agenda. Gamers, it's say they're society, unfortunately, they might have to rely more on their games, as an escape because their life is in a rougher position for a lot of people. And so they're going to fight harder.
It's their escape at the end of the day, Nolan. If they come home at the end of a long day, they just want to fire up a game and just lose themselves in it for a little while.
Yeah,
exactly. And so they're going to fight harder to not let it go that way. And I think gaming has a very strong chance. If they're going to be the first one to conquer this virus or that's going to force companies to have to adapt, I think the gamers are the ones that can do it. And I think the thing that activists, because they've already done it to movies, games, they're in this war, basically. I don't like calling it a war because I don't want headlines to go spinning that. But, they're basically in a ground zero right now as far as where this fight over the past decade has taken them. But the thing that they have their eyes set on now, the little sparkle in the distance that they might be able to jump to instead, is anime. They want anime.
Big time.
It's going. That's the next fight. And these people are they're not going to go peacefully. They're going to go kicking and screaming because that's all they've got.
Well, the Japanese are firmly against this, and we are now seeing Japanese companies, and you're starting to see studios like Disney and them look into buying, I think, anime companies in Japan, and I hope Japan holds the line on that one because you're seeing localizers changing the translations of somebody else's work to meet a political agenda that the original author did not intend. And that's why now Japan's like, okay, you want to play that game? We're just going to start turning to AI. We're going to let AI do it.
I'm shocked that more people aren't talking about Square Enix essentially dumping every single one of their Western employees.
Yeah.
Get lost.
Really?
Yeah, they
Square Enix US and UK, they fired everybody.
Everybody.
Wow.
You're
gonna see more of that.
Nothing that comes out of Square Enix is worth a damn unless it comes from Japan.
Yeah.
Well, essentially, the only thing that made money for them was Final Fantasy. They didn't make as much money as they needed it to make, so they canceled a bunch of games and fired a whole bunch of people. And you can, we all know what the internal struggle is right now. It's going. We have to get as far away from this insanity as possible because we got forced into backing the wrong horse. I can't remember who on the anime side just dumped all their Western translators too. I can't think of who it is. It was about a month ago because of the same thing.
It wasn't Toei, was it?
It wasn't Toei. Oh God, I can't think of who it was.
Have the people from Crunchyroll, I guess Funimation doesn't exist anymore, but did the people from Crunchyroll who were were hosting that panel, like where they were like really snobby and like were really being kind of mean to the male audience, like, are they still employed or did they get gone a while ago?
Oh, they're still employed. Like because those are like the deeply entrenched ones. Like they're like voice actors turned localizers. I'm pretty sure they're still around. But the look, at the end of the day, Japanese culture is threatening to the virus that we've got going on here in the United States and overseas in Europe, because it is a culture that is built on family, respect, and hard work. And these are things that they do not want in society. Okay?
And honor.
Yes. And so and honor. You're seeing things like Godzilla -1 comes out and just blows everything out of the water. Hollywood hates that movie. Hates it. You could tell because they it only got a visual effects Oscar nomination. Screw the Oscars.
It got snuffed. It got hardcore snuffed.
Big time. The Mario movie so good. You know why the Mario movie was good? Because Nintendo dug their heels in the sand and was like, we will not let Americans ruin this attempt at making this a movie again. Because apparently Universal Illumination wanted to make it Princess Peach the movie, and the folks over in Japan and Nintendo were like, absolutely not. One Piece on Netflix was a huge, rousing success live action anime adaptation, one of the first good ones, because the manga writer was the one in charge. He had final say over everything.
How about something I'm watching right now that I think has a tremendous amount of Eastern influence is Cobra Kai. Something as simple as that. I mean, you say but Miyagi, the spirit of Miyagi. I mean, I know it's written by Americans, but it has a lot of Eastern influence. It has a lot of the same themes that you pick up and those kind of things, and it did extremely well. Look how well it did, to the point that it's spawning off a new movie that is going to be more developed in the East.
That's what happens when the people who are given stewardship of the IP are actual fans and have actual affection for the thing they've been tasked. So like, listen, I'm a 90s baby. We can. Everybody laughed at Rick McCullen. Everybody laughed at Rick Berman for how they handled Star Wars and Star Trek, respectively. Look at where we are now.
Bring them back, please. Bring them back.
Well, I live in a world where I'm going, oh my God, I wish Rick Berman never left Star Trek, because it's been given permanent brain damage, and I don't think it could ever recover. I honestly am genuinely tickled by people who are still holding out hope for Star Wars. I'm like, guys, we gotta.
I have no hope. I have no hope anymore.
Star Wars is long dead. We are just watching them pee on this desiccated corpse. And I'm just kind of going.
It's Weekend at Bernie's at this point. They're just holding the corpse up and pretending it's alive.
I'm like, let's just see how. I'm like, I'm only watching this show because this show exists.
Okay. Before we get before we loop back to Acolyte.
Yeah, I know. We got some stupid chats. Matthew James for $10. Thank you so much. Says Dragon Age was ruined over a decade ago when they went away from CRPG. They could have been what Baldur's Gate 3 was. BioWare is dead. Doom and Gears both look good. Exclusives, no issue. They all come to PC eventually. Not wrong there. But I liked Dragon Age too. I like Dragon Age Inquisition. Inquisition maybe gets a little repetitive.
Well, I go Dragon Age 2 gets a bad rap because if we'd gotten the DLC that we were promised, everybody would have relaxed. I, for one, gleefully abused every single bug. I remember I was like 2 days into playing, and my hawk went to go do something, and I accidentally hit the A button, and I kept getting XP, and I bashed that button until I could not get any more XP and money, and ran train through that game. My fight with Kanari at the end, it was not a fight. It was a mugging. And I don't care.
But if you're having fun, that's what matters. Like when they make a game with even though a lot of those older games could be such buggy messes that didn't get the fine tuning, that was part of what made them so cool. And nowadays they patch out all the crazy game breaking glitches to where. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm distracted. I feel like the guy from Home Improvement right now with the super chat. So I'm kind of talking over it right now. But
sorry.
You're good. But we gotta have the super chat. But it's like those were fun. But people love Super Metroid because you can literally break the game and speedrun to it, and they put care in all the right areas. Glitches are not what ruined games. It was lack of passion that killed games.
My favorite gaming experience of the past 20 years was Fable 2. And what happened was that my wife at the time, who just wanted to test out the controls because she had never played Fable before. So she jumped on and she's going through the city, and I heard somebody talking through the headset, and I go, oh, I think we're online, because they did that orb thing, So she grabbed the headset and started talking, and somebody, because she was a woman, gave her millions and millions of gold right off the top of the game. So I got to run through that game, buying everything I saw, getting the best weapons, that was so much fun. And to see where they are now.
Hold on, real quick. We got one more. We got another panelist join us in, folks. From another one from That Park Place, our friend Martin Stone. Welcome, Martin.
Hey, glad to be here.
Oh man, Martin, we are talking about Summer Game Fest right now, and just the desecration of modern video games and what's been going on with that.
The giant ginger homunculus in the room is what I'm about to talk about.
Yeah, that it's so weird. Like, Fable was a game that was built on choice. It was built on customization. And this is what I liked about BioWare. I like games that allow you to customize your experience. You create the character that you want to be. I like in the Assassin's Creed, in some of the Assassin's Creed games, you get to choose whether you're male or female. You have a different story for each one. So it's replay value. Dragon Age, I go through as a human mage, then I go through as an elf, then I want to go through as a Canary just to see how it changes the gameplay. But now Fable looks like they're locking you in on this character.
It's disgusting. It's just, I can't look at it.
This gross looking girl.
Is it a girl? Are we sure it's a girl?
I don't know. I
don't know. It's so bad looking. And I noticed it because when I was going through, I was trying to keep track of okay, there's been 5 guys and there's been 30 women, and that's how this is going to go. And then I got to Fable, and I was like, I have no idea what that is. And why do they think that we want to play as this disgusting and protagonist? Well, who wants to be that? You were talking earlier about how girls love games because they get to play as hot chicks, or they get to see hot chicks, and dudes like to be big buff guys. Who wants to be this?
You talk about wanting to see yourself in media. With a game like Dragon Age or a game like what Fable was, you get to literally see yourself in media. You can create yourself. Everyone does that, or some idealized version of yourself. And I forget her name. The person who was the the president or CEO of Sweet Baby Inc. She was talking about like when she realized that diversity was so necessary in gaming was because she was playing Mass Effect 2 and she created herself as, you know, a black female character. And she was so excited to be able to play. And the first thing she did was talk to Jacob, who is a black male character. And you had two characters of color that were having this conversation. And she thought it was great. And I'm thinking to myself, yeah, that is great. You got to have the experience you wanted to have because the game is customizable. But then she said, and then I was sad because not everyone was having the same experience that I was having. And I was like, that's where you lose me. Because instead of letting everyone have the experience they want to have, they are forcing their experience on everyone else.
And it doesn't work for everybody. It never does.
No.
What works? What? Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say it's like, guys, it's not you. Not everybody's going to have the exact same experience. That's the point. Your experience is personal to you. It's individualized. The game is supposed to have universal appeal, but it can't control how your personality and how your emotions are going to be triggered, or whatever, for lack of a better word. So it's like, yeah, hey, I'm a normal human being who happens to be black. Yes, other than the fact that I can't get my shepherd to have the same size neck that I have, I go and have a conversation with Jacob, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. There are two black guys on the screen at the same time. That doesn't really happen a lot. But that doesn't happen a lot in Hollywood in general, unless it's a bunch of drug dealers or rappers in a room. So it's like we had this cool moment, and then I won it with my life because I'm a normal human.
Right, you don't want to force that moment on everybody else because
I'm not gonna Gestapo my way through and like, you went and play with the box. I have better things to do with my time.
Hey, what was it, the Bears Colts Super Bowl where both the coaches were black and everybody was making a big deal about it except the coaches who were just like,
the coaches.
Yeah, they didn't care.
That was low key best Super Bowl ever. Colts won it, and it was like no Super Bowl ever. Compare. Let's go, Indy. Thank you. All right, moving on.
No, Martin, you're absolutely right because all they cared about was coaching a football team to win the Super Bowl.
Right. Which is what the only thing you want a coach to be concerned on.
Which is what that's why like I don't understand this obsession with like AEW just did the thing where they were like, oh, we crowned our first black champion with the first black manager of a black champion with the first black referee to ever officiate I'm not even exaggerating. This is the thing that they said.
If you happened to be black in the area, you got tagged with you were the first black man to be watching a black referee, a black manager, and a black champion. It's like you got tagged into it. It's like, well, I just wanted to watch some wrestling.
It's this obsession with first. Go ahead, Martin.
Aren't we glad the Japanese of the 80s didn't have this mindset, or else we wouldn't have Icarus or Mario or Link or Samus Aran?
Big time. The Japanese are brilliant at creating beautifully diverse characters who the character speaks for itself, and they're almost ambiguous in a way. Like you could look at an anime character and be like, oh, well, they kind of look like they could be Asian, they kind of look like they could be white, a little darker, than maybe they could be Hispanic. Like that's why you have some room when you cast these live action shows.
Sometimes in anime, you don't know if it's a boy or a girl.
That's true with Fable, evidently.
We can probably get away from some of the Sambo-inspired characters, but hey, it's a work in progress.
Aren't we?
We at least got Barrett.
We do, but they hated Barrett. Remember, there was during Barrett, they were like, "Oh, he's a comedic, he's a black clown," and I'm like, Barrett has one of them. Like, did you not play the game? Barrett has one of the most emotional arcs of the entire game. The guy lost his hometown, his wife, and his best friend, and then took his best friend's daughter and raised her as his own, and then the best friend comes back and he has to kill him now because he's insane. Like, real funny character, guys, because he has moments of levity. Every character in that game has moments of levity. I want to get to a few more super chats and then I want to move on because we're talking about the concept of firsts. So John JID 999 for $5. Thank you. Says Saints Row 3 was so good, just complete insanity. You could do anything. Hope Rockstar doesn't mess up this new GTA. They're going to. They have an opportunity to make money. Well, I mean, look, we've already seen that GTA 6 is Grand Theft Auto strong female.
I have no hope for this game. We are
none.
This game took so long to come out that everybody who made 5 isn't actually there anymore. So,
no, well, that's the thing. It's the ship of what is it? The ship of what am I thinking of? The ship of Theseus, I think it is. Where if you replace every piece of the ship, is it still the same ship? We see that with Rockstar. We saw it with Rocksteady. With the people that made Suicide Squad were not the same people that made Arkham. You know,
nope.
It's you keep the name of the studio, but you replace every other part of it. It's not the same studio anymore. And you know, you're gonna. The beautiful thing about GTA was you always sat there thinking like, I can't believe they're letting me do this in a video game. I can't believe I just got away with doing that.
And now they put kids in the game. So that
I know that's weird. Like you put kids in a game where you can just discriminately murder. Like my inner Anakin Skywalker was suddenly like, like, but the
horrible.
Oh my god! Like, but now, like, the beautiful thing about GTA 5 was that you had the 3 characters that you could switch through, and I thought they were going to do that again. Like, give us 3 characters, give us 4 characters. That was part of the fun. Was the different ways you can play as Michael, as Trevor, as Franklin. I don't think they're doing that. At first I thought it was 2, but all the focus has been on this female character.
No, they confirmed it is 2. You do get to be because they're doing Bonnie and Clyde. That's the whole idea.
I'm okay with that. I think that could be cool. I just don't think they're going to let you do any of the things that made Grand Theft Auto Grand Theft Auto. I remember I was a teenager, and we should not have been allowed to rent this game from Blockbuster, my buddy and I. We rented Grand Theft Auto 3. And we went back to his house, and I remember it clear as day. One of the first missions, we're sitting there, and you know we're maybe 14 years old at this point, and we're playing on the PS1 and or PS2. Maybe it was probably PS2. Yeah, we're playing on the PS2, and all of a sudden we start a mission, and some dude bursts out of a door and goes, "Some Diablo scumbag's been pimping his scuzzy bitches in my backyard," and we went, "What?" We couldn't believe this was in a video game.
Hey,
we should not have been allowed. We should not have been allowed to rent that game.
I got to duck out. I just want to. Everybody.
Thank you so much.
Great seeing you, man.
We appreciate.
Great job on your video. Y'all need to go check out his video he recently did. Like that was freaking awesome.
So, yes, I'm going to put another link in the chat to this is great video on automatons.
And little tease, I wanted to do something a little wrestling related next. So the next one that I'm doing is going to be there was a cartoon based on wrestling, and that's all I'm going to say. So, yeah, it actually also I'll give you this. It was also in the 90s. I'm not talking like WWE Network stuff. So, okay. So I will.
Thank you, Dis. No problem. We appreciate you. We love you.
Yeah, you too. Bye,
you buddy. All right. Plenty in Pixel Art checking in with a super chat here says, sounds like they finished digging their own grave and now they're playing a new game where they throw the body up in the air and try to get a couple extra shovelfuls out before it lands. Yeah, that sounds about right. Thank you so much, Plenty in Pixel Art. John JID 999 says, growing up on John Wayne movies, I feel like the world needs a Western movie done well. I think that could be appealing to people now. Action on action. John, if you've never played Red Dead Redemption 2, that's the ultimate Western movie.
Yeah, I gotta say, when I first saw this super chat come up, I misread it. I thought he said growing up with the John Wick movies, and I'm like, why in God's name were you growing up with the John Wick movies? Do not show a child John Wick.
You know, John is a fetus, but he's not that much of a fetus. Oh my goodness. So guys, now we're talking about Hollywood being obsessed with firsts, right? Everybody wants to be the first this, the first that. We are now seeing Hollywood lie about firsts in order to make. So I wanted to share this moment here from our friends over at Doctor Who, the doing so well Doctor Who. All right, so they changed the title of this as Doctor Who had his gayest kiss ever. The original title of this was Doctor Who has first gay kiss in 60-year history of the show. That was the narrative that everybody was running with. That the Doctor is having the first ever gay kiss, 60 years finally. What a landmark moment! This is Kirk and Uhura on the bridge of the Enterprise. There's only one problem with that. 19 years ago, in an episode, season 1, episode 13, The Parting of the Ways, the Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston, kisses Captain Jack Harkness, played by John Barrowman, both of them men. In 2017, Madame Vastra and her wife, Jenny, also shared an on-screen kiss. It's ridiculous that they tried to make this a big first moment. Martin, are you familiar with Doctor Who at all?
I go with the old stuff mostly.
Original series, who was your Doctor?
I'm gonna go Dark Horse. I like the second Doctor quite a bit.
Oh,
very nice pull. I like that a lot. Folks, also new panelists joining us. I guess we're here replacing Dis. Also from our wonderful family over at That Park Place, our friend Hangry Table.
Hangry. No. Is it the Lost Guys reunion?
We're the Found Guys now. Hi.
How are you doing, buddy?
I'm great. How are you? Thanks for having me on, Marvin.
Oh God, I appreciate you showing up, man. You and I had a great conversation over on the WW Pro members only, member spotlight, and I've been dying to get back on the air with you ever since. Now, Hangry, are you a Doctor Who fan?
Oh, I used to be.
Okay, who was your Doctor?
Well, let's see. I would probably have to say that my Doctor was Jodie Whittaker. No, I'm kidding. No, no. To be completely honest, I used to watch the show here and there growing up. Not that much of the old stuff. The first time I ever actually really fully sat down to watch the show was when they aired that horrible Fox show with Paul McGann. And I kind of watched it. And I thought,
the made-for-TV movie.
The made-for-TV movie, yeah. And I'm like, okay, well, I mean, the guy's cool, but I don't know what's going on in this show otherwise. But
I love that regeneration with like the Frankenstein regeneration and Will Sasso going, "Oh my God!"
Watching this, I was thinking, like, wait. So he was this. I couldn't even wrap my head around that regeneration. But I really got sucked in with the Ecclestone and then the Tennant and then the Smith era. And I liked Capaldi. I thought Capaldi was fantastic, but the writing just did not live up to him.
It was a Ben Affleck Batman situation
Yes,
where I'm like, I love you as this character, but your stories are garbage. I thought the Bill Potts season picks that back up. I thought the whole thing picked up. I loved Missy, the concept of Missy. Bill was a great companion, by the way, an openly gay companion who everyone loved.
Yes, that's true. And Missy paved the way for Jodie Whittaker.
She did, and then Jodie Whittaker blew the entire path up behind her. I want to hear who everyone's doctor. So, if you had to pick one Doctor, Hangry, who would it be?
Oh, that's a tough one. Okay, so what's the context here? Are we talking about like just the one Doctor who would go on forever?
The one that you're like, that's my Doctor.
Okay, you know what?
Martin said the second Doctor, which I'm still marking out for. It's a good pull.
That is a really good pull. That is a really good pull. You know what? It would be a toss up between Pertwee and Tennant for me.
Ooh, yeah.
Okay, I like that. I like that you went I like that you brought Pertwee in there. Nolan, who was your Doctor?
So the reality is, I haven't seen very much Doctor Who. So my doctor is actually a very nice gentleman who checks to make sure I don't have any diseases, So that's my doctor.
Just say boy. Say 10.
Oh no. Okay, so I'd pick that 2006 series, the two episodes.
That's about when you were born, though, right? Or was it? No.
Just remember, when the Power Rangers movie came out, I wasn't alive.
I know.
Oh, don't say that.
Wow.
At least I was a kid. At least I was a kid when the Power Ranger movie came out.
I was a camp counselor when that movie came out.
Oh man.
Oh boy.
So when the Power Ranger movie came out, I remember I wanted to see it so bad, and my parents, like, for some reason, wouldn't take me. Something else came out right around then, and we were in the theater.
Was it too violent?
No, it was just my parents hated the Power Rangers. Eventually, they caved. But I remember we're in the theater, and we're seeing something else. It was whatever Disney movie maybe was out that year. Like, was it Toy Story that year? Maybe, I don't know. It was something. And I remember like in the theater, it was still at the old theater where like there was the little window that looked into the theater and you can kind of like see what was on the screen. And I remember like peering in and seeing like Kimberly on the big screen and being like, oh my God, I need to be in there. And like having to go sit through whatever Disney movie we had to go to.
The fact that it was Kimberly makes it even more funny.
That was my childhood crush before I realized that she's just awful.
Wait, is she?
She is very anti Power Rangers unless she needs to make money.
Oh, that's why you don't see her coming back much anymore.
Well, you know, well now she's starting to because she's realized that it's a cash cow now. But for the longest time, she just did not want to be associated with Power Rangers. Now, you know, she's writing her ridiculous fan fiction comic book, which is like, you know, I'm sorry, Kimberly Dear John broke up with Tommy in a letter. Like, you don't get to now say that Kimberly and Tommy are married and have a daughter. Like, no.
Side note, Kathy, she was loyal. She was loyal. She was, when she took over as the Pink Ranger, like, she was there for him. She didn't want
to go back for Once and Always, but she'll show up when there's a cameo, a Stan Lee-esque cameo in a movie. The fact that wasn't David Yost, I remember I was so pissed that wasn't David in there. Or Catherine when Catherine Sutherland was in Once and Always, I was like, good for you, because you never abandoned the fandom.
She's amazing. Like, I would love. She's one of the few like celebrities I legitimately would like to meet because of how they are as a person. Not even that I liked them that much in the franchise, which I really did like her in the franchise, but it's not because I want to geek out about her character. I just want to be like, yo, you seem cool. Thanks for being good.
I have met several Power Rangers in my life. I will tell you, Walter Jones, the Black Ranger, Zach, is awesome. Such a cool guy.
He seems cool.
Karen Ashley, who played Aisha, the nicest lady you will ever meet in your life. I've talked to her at length about the film that she was making, like The Expendables with all former Power Rangers. I have met, she was the Pink Ranger on Time Force, Erin Cahill. She's a doll. She's wonderful. She played Jen on Time Force.
Wow.
The nicest human being on the planet, though, who I met and was just so gracious and so wonderful and just so giving to the fans, was Jason David Frank.
Oh,
was Kevin? Did you ever get to meet him?
I did, yeah. I anytime I get to talk about him with somebody, like, what a wonderful freaking human it is. The world is a lesser place without that guy. Yeah,
it still hurts. It still hurts.
Seriously, though,
I almost met Austin St. John, but he was charging way too much. I mean, I don't remember what he was charging, but it was an obscene amount of money to like take a selfie with him, because I don't like autographs. I'm just like, I'll just take the selfie with. Like, I'm there for the experience. I'm there for the 3 minutes that you're going to spend talking to me.
Yeah.
You hold it. What are you holding up there? Is it you and Jason David Frank?
It's my wife sending me angry memes. I got a David from Schitt's Creek.
You gotta tell us who your doctor is. Tell us who your doctor is, and then you can duck out.
You know who my doctors are.
But the people don't know.
Week. We talked about it last week. 3 and 12. Pertwee and Capaldi. Those are my doctors. Man.
Capaldi's 13.
Oh, sorry, 13. I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'm a little surprised we didn't get a 4.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. Capaldi is 12. What am I thinking?
Yeah. Well, you count.
Yeah, none of us are 4 fans, huh?
I mean, listen,
none of us. Tom Baker.
Tom Baker is in kind of like in a class of his own. Like, if you love Doctor Who, you love Tom Baker. It's like saying it's like the Kirk Picard discussion. You can't choose between them.
Yeah.
You can't like one. If you don't like Kirk, you couldn't get to Picard. It's just kind of, it's
like saying you like the MCU but you don't like Robert Downey Jr. as Iron Man.
Yeah. They just kind of come in the package.
I think McGann is the biggest missed opportunity in the franchise history.
Yes,
agreed.
God, his audio dramas are great, and like when they did that thing where because Moffat was such a completionist, they had to get like every regeneration on camera. When they filmed his regeneration, everybody was like, "Oh, more of this, less of everything else."
Yeah, it's one of those. I'm like, why have we never? even just got a little simple multi-doctor story.
But now we will, because by generation, every doctor is still alive.
Yeah, and now I don't want it.
It makes that like this happened here. So why is it impacting everything going backwards? Other than Russell just wants to be a pedantic little twat.
Whiny something or other. I don't know. You got me. It doesn't even make sense when you break it down logically. Like it removes death completely. Like that just like did they not die? Like what happened?
They just don't die.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Just go on. Like at least what was it? The shorts where they were doing the mind TARDIS. I could go, you know what? I can ride with this because the Doctor's essence still exists, and it's like the companions are going to this special place, so yeah, that Doctor could be there, and I'll take this ride. But now that we're blaming it on the bi-generation, which I'm like, shouldn't only the two Doctors involved in the bi-generation be impacted?
Yes, correct.
It's like it's just silly. It's silly. I don't. But that is the current state of Doctor Who. That's where we all are.
I'm with you. Do you have to get going now so that your wife doesn't murder me?
Well, I'll play for a few more minutes.
Okay. So Doctor Who has gone full agenda, and they are suffering for it. The worst ratings in 60 years. There's no end in sight for this. I mean, Disney has now taken it and it's more extreme than what's been done to Star Wars. Way more extreme. Because the Doctor has never been, I mean, like people fight me on this all the time. Like River Song, Rose Tyler. And I'm like, no, the Doctor has never been a sexual being. You know, the Doctor, like the Doctor and Rose, it was always like a will they, won't they kind of thing. And the Doctor never actually tells Rose that he loves her. Like he almost says it. River, I mean, yes, the Doctor loves River. River is a one in a trillion thing for the Doctor. You know,
Marvin,
yes.
Did you see the rumors that the Rogue is actually River regenerated?
Yeah.
I did not see that.
Yeah. I was going through the Doctor Who feed, and and it's all over the place. I haven't watched the episode yet. But
the Rogue is the one that he made out with on the last episode, right?
Yeah.
But going back to your point though, Marvin, for a second, you were saying that the newest Doctor Who ratings are in the gutter, and I agree, and I think that that's totally the case. But what gets me and what bugs me is that the defenders of it are saying that the numbers we're seeing are not the full picture, that it's not including the streaming, it's not including the various ways that you can get it off of Disney Plus. And so it feels like they've got this out now with this Disney Plus partnership. They can say, well, you know what, like, yeah, the BBC's tanking, but that just means everyone's watching it on Disney or on iPlayer or on whatever it is. And so it gives them enough cover to fudge everything up. And I think that is the main reason why we've seen a season 2, although I saw recently that Russell said they still haven't been confirmed for a third season after that. Thank the Lord.
Well,
has Doctor Who ever been canceled?
Yes.
Twice.
The seventh Doctor. It was canceled in the seventh Doctor, and then again after the eighth, right?
Before you were born, Nolan.
Yeah.
Were they known as the Doctors that killed the franchise, or was it seen as just an unfortunate situation that happened?
No, I don't think so. I think the seventh Doctor, they were trying to make darker, more complex adult storytelling, but that was kind of a sign of its time, and it was just tired. And so then you have the eighth Doctor. That was a Fox movie. They were trying to relaunch it here in the States, and it just didn't work out. So, yeah, I would say it's been canceled twice already.
I would say we got the iPlayer numbers, and they weren't anything impressive,
right? And if they were doing 10 million people on Disney Plus the way that the show used to do, like in ratings, Disney would be shouting that from the rooftops, and they're not.
Yeah, they've been remarkably quiet, what to me says it's not anything fantastic. / we know we can't trust Disney. So what happens when we get the Nielsen and the what is it, the Sambo TV numbers?
Samba TV.
Yeah.
It's the Nielsen numbers, I think, that paint the better picture. Samba TV is a bit more limited in scope. I think I'm not sure what the exact breakdown of the both of them are, but yeah, those are the way that we can get a really good idea on how the streaming numbers are going. But even then, like the point I'm trying to make is that they're saying now that, oh well, the BBC in their overnights, they only had like 2 million people, but that's because everyone else was watching something, like they were watching it streaming or they were downloading it or whatever. And so it just I dislike the cover that it's given, that they're still able to kind of obfuscate just how bad the show is doing.
But it used to be appointment television. It would be the thing you would
Oh,
record
yeah.
other stuff while you watched this.
And so was Star Wars. Star Wars used to be the movie event. Now it's go on Twitter and make fun of it.
Yeah, it's Mystery Science Theater 3000 at this point. By the JPS checking in with a super chat. Thank you so much for $5. Says 11th Doctor is my doctor, but 10 is close. And my favorite episode, Blink, is surrounded and dodged by the bad writing in his era.
Yeah.
Blink was terrifying. That's the Weeping Angels first episode, right, Kev?
Oh, it's that episode? Because
Yes.
that was actually what I was thinking of in my mind, because that's one of the few things I know about Doctor Who is that inspired the SCP containment breach and all that. And
what a terrifying and simplistic concept was the Weeping Angels.
It was amazing.
It should have been a one-off.
And it was 15 years ago.
Yeah, when they brought them back and like the Statue of Liberty was a Weeping Angel, that wasn't good.
What?
But like
what? They did that?
Hey,
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
just as good as the mutated Dalek human with the eyeball.
God.
That's when Moffat tries to out Moffat himself.
Yes, seriously.
Sometimes you gotta give it a ride.
It's like you need you need that meme of that one kid with the gun and he's holding up the gun behind himself. It's like, trust no one, not even yourself. That's Moffat in a nutshell.
You want to know what I miss in Doctor Who? You know what I need more than just like him going around and just showing us how gay he is all the time? What about those Matt Smith, Peter Capaldi, and to an extent Tennant moments where it was just, I am the Doctor. Like when they would have those monologues where Matt Smith, hello, Stonehenge, or like the Rings of Akaten, when he yells at a planet until it shrinks into itself, or when he would call the aliens back just to yell at them while they were fleeing in his first episode.
Gravitas. Jodie didn't have it. Gatwa doesn't have it. They don't have the strength, the power, the charisma to do it.
I waited for Jodie to have that. I waited for most of her first season. I'm like, where is your I am the Doctor moment? It's not happening. Remember, my favorite moment is Capaldi in his last episode when he's like, I'll find out who you are, and if I don't like it, I'll stop you. And the first Doctor goes, who the hell do you think you are?
But I think Shooty has the potential in him. And I said this in the chat. I think he could be a good doctor. It's just the stuff he's getting from Russell. And I mean, I guess he's complicit in it. It's just like he's crying every episode, right?
Well, the guy clearly has charisma.
I think I call him Dr. Wimp. I mean, it's like, it's. I guess what soup and I Marvin and I talked about. I started bracing myself over the summer. I'm like, the Russell we're getting is not going to be the early 2000s Russell.
Oh yeah, you won me.
I was like, I was super excited at first, and then I just saw one too many articles, and I'm like, this isn't going to be the same guy. This is going to be, and I think I remember like when he wrote, when everybody came back to write their shorts during the pandemic, and he does the goodbye to Sarah Jane. I have no problem admitting it. I legit cried when I was done reading that. So I'm like, okay, cool. Russell's back. This is going to be awesome. And then he, at some point in time, anoints himself the queer messiah. And I'm like, uh-oh. All right.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, dude, like, you are such a prolific storyteller. Why are you doing this way? And I get it. The BBC has its own little weird personal agenda where it's going to bludgeon you to death, even though the people pay for the content. And it's like, but I'm like, I don't know. I was with the Mary Poppins method. Just give me a spoonful of sugar. I'll take the medicine down. I won't complain about it. Just give me some effing sugar so that I can at least enjoy the lecture.
Do you remember, like, go ahead, Henry.
I was just going to say, and I might get killed for this by your chat, but In a lot of ways, it reminds me a little bit of George Lucas in the prequels, right? Because I like the prequels. I'm going to throw that out there. I love the prequels.
I love the
I'm a fan.
prequels.
But they have their flaws, and a lot of that comes from George Lucas basically being unleashed and untethered, right?
Yes.
And so I feel like this is basically RTD unleashed in the same way, with no one either wanting to or having the ability to rein him in. And this is just him, just going, like
we
going
see this a lot, Hangry. This is a pretty constant in Hollywood, where somebody has a success, and so they bring them back and they give them full creative control. We saw it with Snyder when we hit Batman versus Superman. Man of Steel was fine. I like, with the exception of Jonathan Kent dying in a tornado and him killing Zod. I like the Man of Steel. I think that's a decent movie. And he comes back for Batman versus Superman. Yes, he should have smiled more, or at all. And he goes back for Batman versus Superman. It's dog crap because, I mean, they can't, Wonder Woman, the first Wonder Woman, fantastic film. They bring her back. They give Patty Jenkins unlimited creative control, and now Wonder Woman is raping a man.
Or Ragnarok injected some humor, and then it went overboard with Love and Thunder.
Bingo. When you let Taika be too Waititi, and he just went off the rails.
Batman Returns is one of my favorite movies, but it's the exact same story. Like, Burton got full creative control, and that did not jive with everybody.
When they turned the Penguin into a sewer monster?
Yes!
Well, it's hard to sell McDonald's toys of a sewer monster.
You don't want the McDonald's Happy Meal with a bloody bat on the top and killer penguins.
Or how about Dave Filoni getting full control and going all Ahsoka?
Yeah. You know what? I don't think Dave Filoni has full control. I think he says, "Yes, Kathy, whatever you want, Kathy. Just keep giving me money, Kathy." Or he says to his wife calls him and he says, "Yes, dear, whatever you want, dear," and that's it.
Yeah, the wife thing. I mean, we found out she's a witch, right? And so all this witchcraft stuff in Star Wars now makes a whole lot of sense.
Yeah, I hadn't even made that connection until somebody pointed that out. I think it was Pro or somebody else, and I thought, oh my God, of course. That's why they're going so deep into witches and witchcraft and all that. And
these people have no self-control with it too, because I have my own personal things I like in putting in media and my own art that I create and such. But if I was ever put in charge of a Star Wars movie, I would literally be like, instead of being like, yeah, I'm taking the heartbeat, I'd be like, oh God, I am horribly unprepared. I feel like I would need the encyclopedia brain of Lauren Connor to make this movie, because I just feel like I can come up with artistic vision, but I don't know the lore enough. And I'm like, I'm just going to warp this into how I see Star Wars. And I don't feel like that would be grandiose enough for everybody. You think these people would be like, hey, let me get in contact, make a few phone calls so I can still make my vision, but everything is still true. I have people that are going to question my choices, but these people's ego, it gets in the way.
Yep. So I have a couple of super chats here. John JID 999 for $2. Thank you. Says, never seen a second of Doctor Who, and I never will. I would recommend maybe watch a little bit. We'll go watch some of the earlier stuff. I think you might actually dig it. There's nothing like that moment during Matt Smith's reign where all of a sudden, the chips are down, and all of a sudden, dun 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 dun. When that music started, that was when you knew he was about to turn on the I Am the Doctor.
That's not all the fun that David Tennant just was unallowed to have.
I know. Plenty in Pixel Art for $10. Thank you so much. This dummy question. I know the source material. What's wrong with Superman's human dad dying in a tornado? Educate me. Oh boy. Here we go. Hold on, I'm gonna crack my knuckles. Superman's father, first of all, I do not like when you kill the Kents. I like the Kents being there as a stable presence in his life. I like them being his one, the people in this world that know both sides of him, that know that he's Superman. I always loved the idea of him in his full Superman costume standing in the middle of the Kent living room with his parents. That's why Lois and Clark is such a fun version of Superman, because the Kents are a presence in his life throughout the entirety of it. Okay, if you are going to kill Jonathan Kent, there is a very clear lesson that is learned from Jonathan Kent's death. Jonathan Kent dies of a heart attack, and Superman sits there helplessly. It is a humanizing moment. It is a moment that Clark needs when you are telling this particular story to shape him as a hero. It is a lesson that he has to learn very quickly. All this power, and I can't save everyone. There was nothing I can do. Something as I could save my father from a massive tornado that's going to suck him up and throw him into the air. I can't save him from a heart attack. There's nothing I can do. I'm helpless in this moment. And that is a moment that he needs in order to develop. Kevin, am I wrong?
But instead,
Hangry, go ahead.
But instead, we got the fantastic meme of "Stop my invincible son."
Yes.
I would say that's more of a life-changing moment than the other thing you posited.
At the very least, yes. I used that gif of Kevin Costner to warn people about impending horrors. When Fan Four Stick came out, and I watched it, and I was one of the I saw it very early, and someone said, "What do you think about it?" And I looked it up, posted it, and he said, "Thank you. That's all I needed to know." But yes, to go back to it, listen, that scene suffers from we can't do it better than Richard Donner did because he made the point. And also kind of perverts the message too, because Kevin Costner's Jonathan Kent was all about you can't expose yourself or everything is going to go to shit for you, and
let everyone die.
Yeah, it's sending the wrong message about who Superman is and what Superman is.
It's the wrong information about who Jonathan Kent is.
Yeah, what you get, it's Snyder is not the guy who should have been tasked with handling Superman. You can give him Batman all day long. I guarantee you.
No.
He probably would have given you a kick-ass Batman movie.
When he's not murdering people, yeah.
It was. Just give him a Miller script, and he would have been fine. Because yes, that Batman warehouse scene is one of the greatest fights in movie history.
Oh yeah,
it's just
agreed.
It's just sandwiched in tons and tons and tons of shit. So it's like, hey, I feel like if you gave Snyder a producer who had the balls to go, no, don't do that. He can handle Batman. He just, when you look at the kinds of movies this man makes, he does not make happy movies. There's nothing remotely happy about anything he does. And again, I will sometimes defend him. Like, I loved the hell's the name? Sucker Punch. I really enjoyed that movie. I don't know why, but and I'm watching because I'm stupid. I thought that we were going to get something that vaguely resembled a happy ending. And I am punching through this slog, and it is visually incredible. It's a beautiful movie, and I think I understand what the hell is supposed to be happening. And then she gets the damn lobotomy, and I'm like, what was the point of this fucking movie? Or even the zombie movie? Okay, hey, they got out. Batista's kid killed everybody because she doesn't know how to listen, and the hero, instead of making sequels to this forever, gets bit, and now he's dead. And I'm like, what was the point of this movie? And somehow Green Lantern got bit. You did that thing I hate in movies where something happens to a character off screen that should not have been able to happen to them because we needed plot to happen for the sake of plot happening.
But Kevin, are you ready for Rebel Moon, the director's cuts? Chapter 1, Chalice of Blood, and Chapter 2, Curse of Forgiveness.
I haven't watched Rebel Moon, so I will not be enjoying Rebel Moon's director's cut because I am out of the watching 1,500 hours of Zack Snyder. I can't do it anymore.
I will watch it if there's a riff tracks.
I saw a comment. I saw a comment about that. Oh, sorry. Go on, Martin.
I said I'll watch it if there's a riff tracks.
Yes, you know what? I take that back. Yes. If it pops up riff tracks, I will endure.
What do you got, Hangry?
I was just gonna say I saw a comment the other day about Zack Snyder. Someone's like, "Does this guy ever do anything like right the first time?" Because I mean, it's director's cut out with Zoom, right?
Hey, that's something him and Bob Iger have in common. Reshoots, baby.
The critical drinker put it best. He was like, the best thing Zack Snyder could have done was to never make another movie again after Justice League, because then it would just keep up I'm doing a terrible critical drinker impersonation. He said if after Justice League he never did another thing again, it would have kept up the auteur myth around him that he was this great guy that was like held back by the studio. But everything he's done, including Zack Snyder's Justice League, is awful, just atrocious. The guy's a hack. He killed the DC universe, and his fans are the worst fans to have ever fanned in this world.
There are worse.
Snyder Bros. No, I can't stand Snyder Bros.
They're bronies.
Well, okay, you got me there, Martin.
Yeah.
But you know what? I promise you guys, I am going to watch all 12 hours of these Rebel Moon director's cuts. I've not seen Rebel Moon yet.
No.
For the channel, I will do it. I will review it, and I will rip it to shreds. I promise you. Speaking of which,
you bastard! That means I have to watch it.
No, you don't have. No, I'll tell you this, Kev. The way we'll do it is you can be completely unknown, and like what we did with Lauren last night with the Acolyte, because Lauren refuses to watch the Acolyte, but for good reason. We told Lauren about it, and he reacted to it. So you can be the person I tell about.
You know I can't do that. I have to experience the pain firsthand.
I know.
I'm sorry. I'm
a terrible presence in your life.
But
guys,
go ahead.
No, go ahead, Martin.
I was gonna say, Hangry knows that I read like the entire Dune extended universe saga.
I told you not to. I don't know why you did.
You did.
That.
You told me not to.
That was just like, that's masochistic. Oh.
I still have to see Dune 2. I haven't seen it yet. So
it's good. It's a good movie, but like, I mean, the Dune, the stuff that like his kid wrote with Kevin J. Anderson, I mean, it was just awful.
Mm-hmm.
You need to see Dune 1 to see Dune 2.
Yeah.
Yes, very much so. So we are at 8:00. It is now time to start wrapping things up. My esteemed panel, guys, thank you so much for being here tonight. Kevin Apollo, Nolan, Hangry, Martin, Dis. Guys, what a pleasure it was to have this conversation with you tonight. We got to cathartically rage out together. We got to get all of our frustrations out. Thank you to our chat, everyone who super chatted. Let's go round table. Martin, where can people find you?
That Park Place. And I do a show with Hangry and Nolan. It's called The Lost Guys. We do it. It's going to be releasing every week coming up. We've had a bit of a hiatus because of backups, but it's a lot of fun. We talk about lost media and things that shouldn't have been forgotten.
I hope you guys have our friend Dis on that show at some point to talk about automatons, because what a cool thing that is. Like, oh my God. Nolan, tell us a bit more about where we can find you.
Well, seeing as how Martin already brought up the return of the Lost Guys, you can find me on youtube.com at Nolan Thunder. I cover lost media, video game, urban legends, and all sorts of stuff in a sort of hybrid of documentary, B-movie horror, and comedy. So if that sounds like something that tickles your fancy, check it out. I got another one coming up soon here on Slamfest 99, which was a live event based off Super Smash Brothers, which was held in Vegas.
There we go. Hangry, my friend, where can people find your dulcet tones when they want to hear more?
Dulcet tones. I've been told I have a very high voice, but thank you for that. No, I am. It's a real delight to do the Lost Guys with Nolan and Martin, and like they said, we've recorded a whole bunch of stuff. Jonas was off on vacation, so he had.
Mm-hmm.
But
oh, Hangry keeps unplugging his microphone, I think.
Oh. You're muted, my friend. You're muted.
Yeah, Hangry, you're muted. I'm going to unmute you.
What he's saying is The Lost Guys is the greatest show ever made. You should check it out.
Sorry about that. Some technical glitches. But yes, we're going to be having more Lost Guys. I'm also part of the Genre Guys with Lauren and Lou Wasserman's Ghost, where we cover a lot of old films. And some member-exclusive stuff for Pro. So I kind of bop around a little. Just a floating table.
Of course. And Kevin Apollo, my co-host, my best friend, my reality check, risking the ire of his wife to stay with us just a little bit longer tonight. Thank you. So tell the people where they can find you. You have any wrestling shows coming up? Plug away.
Sure. What am I? At War Dog Apollo on Twitter and Instagram. I caution you, they are very different experiences. But I do like to warn everybody, I am a lot less Gran Torino than my Instagram would apply or imply, and a little more. I don't know. I think I'm a little. As I've gotten old, I've gotten a little more Ron Swanson. You know.
I would say that's you. You are the Black Ron Swanson. I would definitely say that.
All the bacon and eggs that you have.
Oh, Martin, someday we need to have a meetup, and you will see exactly. Well, Kevin Apollo and I went to a Fuddruckers one time and sat down to eat 1 pound cheeseburgers, and I'm like 3 bites in, and I'm looking, and he's eating his last fry. it is an experience. So
I didn't know
One who's
Fuddruckers
never
still around.
hungry.
well, this was a while ago. This is a long time ago.
There is a video out there of me somewhere on the internet eating a what was it? An
It was
octo
like 8
stacker.
Yeah, you took 2 quad stackers from Burger King and ate them like on
just
each other.
Smashed them together Scooby-Doo style and ate them.
It was insane. We got to get that video and play it for the people. Maybe that could be a 5,000 on Tooney Wrestling. If we'll play that video. But yeah, what do you got coming up?
Other than that, I at some point in time I will get to making some videos for the for us over here. And then I've got July 13th at the Crystal Run Galleria in Middletown. The All American Banger tickets are available now. If you go over to the Instagram ACW_Coliseum, just come on out, have some fun. I'll see you guys all next week.
All right, we'll see you guys. And folks, for me, please check out the Headlock Headlines up on Tooney Wrestling today. We're going to have an Acolyte review for episode 3 coming hopefully tomorrow, plus daily content on both channels. Be sure to check out Tooney Talk Wrestling every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Tooney Talk TV, this show right here, taking place on both Tooney Wrestling and Tooney Town TV simultaneously on Wednesday nights at 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Please, subscribe to both channels, Tooney Town TV and Tooney Town Wrestling. For our esteemed panel here today, for Kevin Apollo, for Nolan, for Hangry, for Martin, for Dis, I'm Marvin the Movie Monster. Now get out of here!
Now, Betty the Platypus, feel the wrath of my thank you-inator!
Thank you, you piece of trash.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you!
Oh, I suppose you want me to say thank you. Well, you know what? Saying thank you is like jobbing.
Thank you!
I got a little message. Thank you. Ooh, yeah.
Oh, thank you! Oh, thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you! Thank you!
Thanks? For what?
Hi-ho from all of us here at Tooney Town. Thank you!
And viewers like you. Thank you.